Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Slice of Gaming podcast. I'm your host, the Uncharted Wolf. Moon is not here. He'll be joining us in about 20 minutes, so get ready for that. But we got a pretty interesting lineup of news this week. Joining me this week, next in line for the chairman CEO position at PlayStation, Fusion.
That would be awesome. I mean, I take it. I take it. I take that job.
You think you could run it better than Jimmy?
I mean, probably not. I'll be honest, right? Not. I feel like I would greenlight too many games that we would just lose too much money.
God, I know that. That's the facts. Also joining us today is the man going to Japan to see how historically accurate Assassin's Creed Shadows is. Dark.
Hey, how's it going?
Dude, I thought of that one on the spot. Okay.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Making it sound like I'm against the I already
Yeah,
know.
that's kinda
Do I know
crazy.
more about this
No,
dude than
no,
anybody else in the podcast? I'm not even gonna get into this.
We said we weren't going to talk about it. Anyways,
You brought it
well,
up first.
we're welcome to a Slice of Gaming podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever pods are caught. Follow us on Twitter at a Slice of Gaming. Check out Slice of Anime every Wednesday. We're gonna have more individual videos coming out soon, hopefully. Depending on everyone's schedules and whatnot. But also check out our new game show. We had a game show going over like Metacritic prediction scores, and Fusion actually did really well on that podcast. He was second.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you were second. You were behind Beef, weren't you? I'm spoiling it.
Oh,
Check it out.
you said okay. I thought you said Metacritic scores. Is that not what you said?
Yeah, I said the Metacritic scores. The prediction episode. The game you
I
played
thought.
with Moon.
Yeah, that was how long to beat.
Oh, I'm so fat. Okay, never mind.
No, that's why you threw me
how
off.
long
I was like, what is
All right, well, we
happening?
can just cut this part out.
No, we won't cut it out. It happens to the best of us. Anyways, let's get into the actual news. We got a pretty stacked news week, actually, more than I thought. The first news story is actually pretty interesting, and it comes from the PlayStation. We got the PlayStation Corner. New PlayStation CEOs, Christopher Dring over at GamesIndustry.biz got this one for us. PlayStation names Herman Holst and Hideaki Nishino as its new CEOs. We got a dual CEO joint. Holst is the CEO of the newly named Studio Business Group, which includes all of PlayStation's first party teams, plus covered the development of PlayStation IP onto other mediums, such as TV and film. Holst was already head of PlayStation Studios and previously co founder of Horizon and Killzone developer Guerrilla Games. Quote, this is from Herman Holst. I am thrilled to lead the Studio Business Group and continue to build on the success of the PlayStation 5 while preparing for the future. And then Hideaki Nishino will lead the Platform Business Group, which includes console hardware, technology, accessories, PlayStation Network, and third party relations, covering major publishers and indie studios. He was already SVP of Platform Experiences. He's been part of the Sony business since 2006. And also, one other thing I need to add, both leaders will report to Sony Interactive Entertainment Chairman Hiroki Totoki, who has been acting CEO of the division since Jim Ryan stepped down from the role at the end of March. So I guess just boilerplate thoughts. Is this a good strategy, the dual CEO strategy? I think you see in a lot of businesses, I was talking to a lot of buddies in business, that it is kind of a rough idea. Like it leads to a lot of power struggles a lot of the time, but I've seen a lot of positive sentiment around it, some negative. I'm interested to hear y'all's thoughts. Fusion, as the next in line to be CEO, how do you feel?
Hope one of them like leaves so I can get in there. But yeah, I thought it was weird. I thought this was definitely a surprise that they went the dual CEO route. Like we knew, like we assumed on this podcast months ago, like that Hiroki Totoki, which also might just have the best name like in
Oh my God,
gaming.
yeah.
Like I love that dude's name. That he was gonna like he wasn't gonna be around for long because it seems like PlayStation fills the CEO like super fast. Like when someone like gets out of there, we talked about it before. Like it's usually within weeks or months. This was like very fast. So like the fact that they already have people lined up wasn't surprising, but it's more the fact that they went with two people, and it was more of the fact that we said on the podcast we were like Herman Holst is definitely like someone that could be a person, but we all were like he's probably not it. Like we thought they were gonna go with someone more like business, like actually business side, like someone behind the scenes, which I guess I'm blanking on the other guy's name.
Hideaki Nishino.
Yeah, I guess he's more like the back end business side. Like he's they've both been around the company for a long time.
The
Yeah, but he's like on the platform
console.
side, and like Holst was always more on the game side. He's a former dev, and like he's a former like founder of Guerrilla Games. So like I think honestly on a video game like platform software level, that's going to be super cool because this is the first time, at least correct me if I'm wrong, that like someone who's actually been on that side of the gaming industry and like worked with the games and worked on the games is like now a CEO of a company. Like they know firsthand how these games are made, how it works. I know someone said something about how Phil Spencer maybe was like working on games at one point, or he was somewhere like in the back line, and like that's how he knows so much. But I don't know how correct that is.
You wouldn't know. Matt Booty actually worked at Midway.
Oh, Matt
So,
Mooney. Okay, well,
yeah, but he's not like CEO.
yeah, he's not CEO. He's just bad. So, okay, but yeah, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I think dual CEO is interesting to get back to my point. But I think as long as there isn't a power struggle there, I think they both have to, like we said, speak to Hiroki
Focus on their side.
anyways. Yeah, and they both have to
Oh,
focus on our side. So I assume once they want to come together and make like a deal, which I'm sure these people, Herman, like I'm sure they all like have known each other for years. They've been at the same company for decades. So I'm sure there's, unless there's some back end beef we don't know about, like they're all friends and like they can at least get along on the business side. So as long I think it was more just a shock of like, whoa, there's two CEOs, and less of like, this isn't gonna work. Like I think this could be a very cool idea, and I think it could work very well if they both have their sides that they can focus on, and there's less of, hey, you as one man has to do everything, like all the workloads on you. I feel like this all around is like better for just their mental health, the company. Like I feel like this is a good idea on paper.
honestly, the most interesting part about all this, that man Herman Holst has been rising in the ranks. Like that is kind of crazy how he went from the CEO of Gorilla to the head of Worldwide Studios to the CEO of PlayStation. It's like this dude is like that's a success story if I've ever seen one. Like I don't know how he got up there so quickly. Granted, maybe he's just really good at his job. That's how he got up there. Who knows?
Yeah, he did move very fast.
Dark. What about you? How are you feeling about this dual CEO approach?
I mean, it's hard to say really because, like you mentioned before, we don't really see this that often, and ultimately this comes down to how the results of what comes out from this change. Like we've seen recently with Square Enix that big changes can happen if you have CEOs that are competent and have common sense, and good things can come from big changes. And at the flip side, it can be a complete disaster for all we know. Well, hopefully for the best for them. And yeah, I'm not that big into PlayStation as you two are, so I got not that much to add onto this.
Hey man, you didn't have to add that. Now people are
Hey,
questioning your credibility.
don't worry, he'll be on the PlayStation side fully soon.
Yeah, and by like this month actually. uh, I I do find it interesting the dual CEO approach. So the whole idea is that Herman is going to be handling a lot of the game stuff, but not even just that. He's handling IPs in regards to like the movies and how they're going to handle like TV shows, just like getting the PlayStation IP to other sectors in general. Like, do you think like this approach could theoretically get us greenlit more like stuff of PlayStation's yesteryear? Maybe because he's more of a developer, understand the budgets, and maybe scale it down. Or do you think it's going to be more business as usual for PlayStation side of like budget scaling, what IPs are utilized, yada yada yada?
Um, Dang, that's interesting. For one, we're already seeing the jokes about like, oh, there's gonna be 7 Horizon games greenlit. Like we're already
There
seeing the
already are,
Horizon
buddy.
jokes. But man, I like we said, he's in a unique position where my heart wants to feel like, hey, Herman can come in here and he can get some of these smaller IPs, and he understands that like we can't have games taking 6 years every single time, and every studio doesn't need to make some AAA $100 million budget game. I'm hoping Herman has that like idea of like, hey, no, we can put out smaller games, we can put out medium-sized games, and obviously we're gonna have our prestige big-sized games. Those, but I wonder how much say he still has in that compared to like you still have to make shareholders happy, and you still have to make people with the stock happy, and he still has so many people above him where I'm like, he has so much power now as the CEO on that side, but I wonder how much power he truly has on like can he change the entire way that PlayStation has kind of been putting out games lately? Because since like what mid PS4 era, the budgets for PlayStation titles have only went up every single time. They seem to only be like, hey, we're going bigger and better and bigger and better year after year, and we still have like the Returnals and Sackboy and Ratchet and Clank, but even then, it feels like the Returnals and all these other like smaller PlayStation games, these are smaller games before Sony completely buys that studio out. And then the minute that studio gets bought up by Sony, the next word you hear is, we're now making the biggest game we can. Like, we're now making our biggest project. So I'm really hoping we can shy away from like, hey, we're going to make the biggest project all the time. And like, even do like, I give Xbox props all the time besides the Hi-Fi Rush nonsense last week. Xbox takes the chances and they put out Pentiment and Grounded and Hi-Fi Rush. Granted, we have seen on the Xbox side, it doesn't seem to matter. Like, even with you putting out successful small titles, it wasn't enough for some of these publishers and devs. I'm hoping that if more people start to do it, not even just PlayStation, but if like Square Enix and Capcom and more publishers start to push back a little bit on like, hey, every game doesn't need to be so big, that the consumers would start buying to the fact that like, yeah, 20-hour games are okay, 10-hour games are okay, 8-hour games are okay. I feel like we have to get consumers kind of like, we have to trick their mind a little bit to go back to what reality was just 5-10 years ago. And then for movies and IP, he can do whatever he wants with them, I guess. Like, we're gonna get a lot more PlayStation shows. Like, we already know God of War is in the work and Horizon's around the corner. Last of Us was a large success and critically acclaimed. Like, I don't think Sony is ever gonna slow down on that side now. I just hope they're not spending a lot of resources compared to the gaming.
With the movies and IPs part specifically, I feel like that is it's a really double-edged sword. Because yeah, you have situations like The Last of Us where they did a one-to-one adaptation of The Last of Us, and it was really good. That's a standout for Sony. Because when you look at everything else Sony does movie-related, IP-wise, it's either dog shit or mediocre, and that's being generous to them.
The Spider-Verse. He always
No, the
forgets
Spider-Verse
about
is their animated
Spider-Verse.
crew. They have two groups. They have the animation crew and they have their live-action department.
Last
I'm
of Us
assuming
wasn't
all.
Sony Pictures, by the way. I don't think he.
No, they licensed it out. I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah,
But
they
that's what I wanted
licensed
to
it,
get
but they
into.
don't own
If
it.
they do it themselves, I don't really have faith in it. I feel like it can damage them more because if you put out something like Madam Web for a big IP like Horizon, let's say Horizon gets a TV shot, and it's the Madam Web people doing it, Horizon is gonna tank because of that. And we've seen how this can happen because of the Halo TV show, and it's horrendous. That's a different topic altogether. I feel like if they are gonna go this route, they're better off licensing out the IP to somebody who can do it, and give them enough freedom to make something good instead of being down their throat about it.
I can't believe you're saying this about the guys who made Venom.
Venom.
Did that mean
Venom
nothing
is
to you?
mediocre at this.
Okay,
Venom.
wait. We're not talking about that. Wait, okay.
You don't want to mention Venom.
Venom is godlike. It is a horrible movie that I think about a lot. But no, I get that viewpoint. I think for the most part they do license stuff out though. Like, it is pretty rare that they do it themselves. At least I noticed personally. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but I think almost all their stuff right now. God of War is Amazon. Horizon is Netflix, and I think they they had a Days Gone thing, which I don't know what's going on with that. They had a fucking Gravity Rush movie. It's live action. Don't know why. So yeah, I mean, I don't really care that much about that whole
Yeah.
department of stuff. Is that's kind of my viewpoint, but I am curious to see what they do. I, Fusion, do you think there's gonna be like an obvious favorite child from Herman Hulst where he's like kind of given a lot more resources to Gorilla than above all else? And I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn is the best selling PlayStation game ever for all of their PlayStation consoles. But like, you already made the joke about like, oh, there's like seven. There are genuinely like 7 Horizon projects already. Like, there's the Lego game, which I didn't include in the rundown, but I find that hilarious. I don't know why. There's the Zero Dawn remake. God bless. There was a couple others. There was the
There's
MMO
the
by
the
yeah,
Nexon, I'm pretty sure. Or is it Nexon or
curious what
NetEase or whatever?
NetEase, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I'm very curious to see. Like, what do you think of that?
Um, One point I want to just make about the TV stuff. It really annoys me that they have they're going to so many different publishers and I just wish if I'm Sony in my head, I'm sure it's expensive, but I'm like, we want all our products, our TV shows to only be on HBO or only be on Netflix. I hate how they're like, Last of Us is HBO, God of War is Amazon, that show's gonna be trash. Netflix
Whoa, wait.
Netflix is Horizon. Peacock was Twisted Metal. Like, why every branch and every
Divorce.
company have like a say in it? I feel like as a business person or as in someone who wants like everything to just be on one platform, like I don't know how that works on the back end. Like I said, it's probably super expensive and they probably just go with whoever pays them the most. I'm sure Amazon was like, we'll give you more than HBO wanted to give them for a God of War project or something. But it still gets really annoying where it's like, I wish I knew a PlayStation show was in the work. I'm like, oh, I only need HBO. Compared to like, oh, if I want to watch 3 of these PlayStation shows, I have to have 3 different streaming services, which is really annoying. But that's besides the point. Favorite child, as in Gorilla? I don't think so. I know it's fine to make jokes about it, but I think Herman has. I'm sure you always say like you don't have a favorite child when you're a parent, and I'm sure you have a little bit of bias, but I don't think they're going to get like anything extra special compared to anyone else. I think Horizon as by itself, like you were saying, is already a gigantic IP for Sony. If people like it or not, like it's a face of Sony at this point. Aloy is a mascot, and she's up there with everyone else. Like every time you see a Sony logo, Aloy's up there. So I think they just have so much in the works already that it's going to look like Herman was out there greenlighting everything. But I think it's like we saw Herman Holst 4 months ago, shake Kojima's hand when he was talking about Fizzin and Death Stranding and all that. Like, I feel like Herman has a very keen eye on, like, no, he was the one who sought out Ember Lab and, like, found Kenna. Like, he went and he did that stuff. Like, I feel like he has a good eye on the talent side for all of this. So I'm very excited to see, like, what he can pull out of, like, even non-PlayStation studios where he just wants partnerships with people. Like, he does partnerships with Kojima and, like, we did with Ember Lab. And things of that nature, and like the Stellar Blade team, Shift Up, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like things like that, I'm very confident in Herman's ability. Will Horizon maybe get an extra Lego game or two that other franchises won't? Perhaps, but I don't know if that's Herman's like stay or if it's just Horizon is now that big of an IP that's just going to happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you in terms of like, yeah, Herman has a great eye for talent. And if Herman can get like a lot of other stuff going as well, like recently, this is kind of a nerdy thing. There was a new PS2 game added, or at least like rumored to be added. It's on the back end for the PS5, the PlayStation Premium, where this is the first new PS2 game in years. So it seems they got a new PS2 emulator finally set up. And I don't know. I know Herman just got the job, but like it almost seems like he was kind of pushing for that. And like hopefully we can get more PS2 games, more backwards compatible stuff. Like that, I would love to be able to the dream PS3 games to finally be playable and not streamable. Obviously, that's a dream. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But if anyone's going to do it, I think Herman can because I think he has more of an eye and more of a desire for PlayStation history, especially being from some PlayStation studio back in the day. I am curious to see. Again, we don't know for sure how all this is going to work. This is something I'm going to be looking out for in the next 2 years, and maybe we'll do a check in. It's like, how is Herman doing? How is Nishino doing? We didn't talk a lot about Nishino. Nishino doing platform stuff that seems good. Like we don't know a lot about him. He's very much kind of like a silent in the back end type deal. But if he can handle the platform, if he can handle like the controllers, PlayStation Network, I think that's a lot of stuff off of Herman's plate that he's able to handle the games. Let Nishino handle a lot more of the brass tasks around the PlayStation console.
Yeah, to make it clear, like, no, we're only not saying stuff on Nishino is because like we've had Herman Holst in front of our screens for 2 to 3 years now. Like he's always there at the PlayStation showcases. Like we know Herman Holst, we don't know Nishino enough to be like, this is what he's gonna do. Like the platform side is that, but like if he's gonna his focus right now is probably on like PlayStation 6 and maybe perhaps PC, like the PC market, which I think they're going to. I think we get that strategy shift next week or like whatever they're talking about next week for 90 minutes. And I'm going to, if you have it in there, I didn't check the doc, but so if you want to go to
It's
that,
not
if
on
I'm
the doc,
jumping
but
in,
I'm
okay.
glad you brought it up. Yeah.
But if they're like, I'm going to be very because I guarantee Nishino is going to be. Is it only Totoki talking there?
No, Nishino had something to say.
Okay.
Hold on, I could pull up the quote. I read the quote earlier.
No, I'm talking about from next week. Is Nishino going to be there for that
Oh,
like
I
stream or whatever?
I haven't checked. I can look right now.
Okay, because I'm like I assume if that whole entire thing where they're talking about like I forget what they called it, but like the future of PlayStation, that little business model they're going to talk about. I'm sure PC is going to be a very front and center piece to this, and I'm interested in Nishino comes in and he's like, seeing how well PlayStation games are on PC, and is he like since he's the platform guy, I wonder if he has a plan in the works of like, hey, we're going to go harder on PC, or like, hey, I don't think they're going to go multi-plat, like definitely not the Xbox route, but I wonder if he has anything that large or that big where he's like, we're going to also put games maybe on Switch or Xbox. I don't think so. I think that is a very, very, very slim chance saying that right now. But I think fully that he probably is already working on the PS6, like with Cerny or whoever else, and then in his mind, he's probably working on like, how do we get PC and PlayStation to be closer to day and date? Like, how do we get like the PC environment? Like, they already put the PC overlay in this week, which it seems like it's doing really well. I don't know if you have used it, Dark, but apparently it's like really well on Ghost. So like,
Yeah, I didn't choose to use it. Like, I'm
yeah,
not even thinking about today.
He doesn't want to see PlayStation on his screen. He's like, ugh.
But it seems like that overlay is like really nice, and people are like, "This is a very great overlay for the first time." So like, I'm very interested in next week if he's talking or if it's just Hiroki or if Holst is there. Like, I wonder if it's all three of them.
I got it. It's Sony chairman and CEO Kenichiro Yoshida, and then COO and CFO Hiroki Totoki. So no
Okay.
Herman, no.
Okay, that's interesting. That's gonna be interesting because I feel like now it's gonna be. Granted, it was always gonna be strictly business talk, but now it's like definitely like they're gonna talk numbers and like straight up. It's gonna be way more business. I feel like it would have been a lot easier to know the actual future if Nishino and Hirsch was there and they could like talk about specific things.
You bring up the Future Fusion. They mentioned that they will be holding some type of showcase to talk about the future of PlayStation. Is that a PlayStation showcase? We actually thought it was going to be announced this week. Didn't seem to happen. Next week, will we get the announcement for the last week of May? Because this was kind of lining up with rumors that Jeff was saying.
Yeah, I think so. I think what they want to do is again they have that business update, which is next week. I think Wednesday maybe. I'm sure they
Yeah.
want to get that out of the way, and then maybe next Wednesday afternoon or next Thursday they announce it. But it does seem weird. Like I 100% thought it was gonna be this week. I was like, wait. Even this time last year, it was like the 16th is when they announced it. It was like, so it's a little odd that they haven't said anything yet. But we have people like Grubb and Tom Henderson. We still have a lot of people in the industry saying no, it's still happening. It's just very weird that it hasn't been announced yet.
It's definitely like. Do you think it might just be a state of play? I think it's a showcase, but like, what if
The
we're getting
longer
our
we
hopes up?
go, the longer we're like getting closer to the end of the month and we have nothing, like they haven't said a word, it gives me more state of play vibes. Which, to granted, we don't obviously that's less exciting. But the state of play in February or January, that was insane. Like we had Death Stranding 2 for 10 minutes. Like that was a great state of play. It's just we obviously all want the May showcase that they've done every year for the past like 3 to 4 years. Like that's what we want as PlayStation fans. But I wouldn't be surprised if next week they're like, tune in to the 30-minute state of play and it's only Ghost focused. Kind of like in January, it was only Death Stranding focused. Like the big game at the end was Death Stranding. This year, it could be the big game at the end is Ghost, like something like that.
We will see.
Something I'm worried about. Oh, you can go.
No, I was gonna shift topics. Go for it.
Yeah, so something I'm worried about. I have two topics I want to bring up. The Horizon Zero Dawn remake rumor. This is going to be the second game Sony has done within a 10 years period of time that's getting a remake. And I'm kind of worried of the precedent that it would set for the industry if people like Nintendo or Xbox will start looking at it. I don't really like the idea of games within 10 years of being out already getting both a remaster and a remake.
Third. It's actually the third one. Until Dawn.
Oh yeah, Until Dawn.
Yeah, so
Really? Had that? Holy shit.
Yeah, but how is that? I mean, granted, Until Dawn,
I mean,
it could be
yeah.
10 years if it doesn't come out this year. Because that game's a 2015 game.
Within the time frame, right? This is a very short time frame. I don't really like the precedent that sense to that, because given how long games take, like I think what Breath of the Wild 2 took like what 6 years. You can theoretically a system can be set up where it's gonna be like you release a game, you announce the sequel of the game, and in between the wait, you remake the first game again. To me, that just sounds stupid when you can do that on so many other things. Like imagine instead of like God of War remake of the original first 3 games, it is remake God of War 2018. That would be fucking stupid to me. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Now.
I don't
It's
like
that's the problem.
remake
It sells. I just don't like that it's a thing. Like, I know it's good for money wise. It's good. I just don't think for consumers in the long run it's gonna be good, because I feel like you're just getting the same content fed to you twice.
No, I'm with you. I don't really like the remake strategy either, but I don't know. I definitely like. I 100% agree. Like, I don't like them putting resources on these remakes that just feel kind of unnecessary. But I'm also like, it's really no spilt milk for me because I just don't play them. I just don't care enough to like do a playthrough of a game that's getting remade that 10 years ago, really. And like they did this with Spider-Man Remastered, wasn't too much of a big deal. It feels like a
Yeah,
thing where them
Spider-Man
calling
Remastered
it.
is not a remake of Spider-Man though.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Last
the
of Us was
thing.
a remake, and
Well, that's my
you can
thing.
tell.
That's my thing is that they call it. The problem is that they call it a remake when in reality the dev time, the amount of resources they put in is more of a remaster. It's just a branding thing. I don't like the branding of like remake, remaster. It's all BS at the end of the day. These are been remasters.
So you think The Last of Us got 2 remasters?
Yeah, that's a remaster.
I mean, the
A
second
remaster
I-
of the remastered?
part 2
I
is
don't
actually
think
called
part.
remastered.
No, no.
Like,
I'm
unless
talking
it's a
about part
remaster.
1. Because part 1 has
No,
both
no.
a remaster and a remake.
That's my thing. I think part one, I consider that more of a remaster. I don't consider that a remake. They
Yeah,
could say
I
it's a
mean,
remake. I don't give a shit
I
what
was
they
just saying,
say.
I would agree. What in that game, other than visually the updated graphics, would that be considered a remake? If anything,
No,
part
you're
2.
not gonna be able to get a remake from it because it's 10 years for you. Like,
Yeah,
No, we're
but think of
saying
it like this.
that.
When I think remake, I think, oh, they added content of some sort, or they added, I mean, they added something, or they added content, or either this game's 30 years old and now it's like going from Resident Evil 2 to Resident Evil 2 remake. Where you think about it like this: Last of Us Part 1, the remake didn't add anything. It's the exact same game. They actually took away factions.
Remove
Last of Us Part 2, which they called a remaster, added an entire new mode to the video game. Wouldn't that be more of a remake than Last of Us Part 1?
I disagree if the sentiment that it has to add new content, but you can have from the ground up remake. Persona 3 Reload, that's a remake, and it's from the ground up, and it's
But I
just
just said that game's
1-to-1.
like 15 years. I just said, like, if it's
Like
long
for
enough
me,
to
if it's
have
from
it
the
a
ground up
difference on a
with
visual
new
difference.
assets and everything, that's a remake.
This smells like a topic.
But
I mean,
I didn't want
that's
to
what
dive
Naughty
too long
Dog
into
said.
this. But the
No,
second
no,
one I wanted to bring up, as I mentioned too, and we talked about this a little bit. Lego, the Lego Horizon. The Lego is not known for doing exclusive content. It's not their MO. They like doing very large IPs, like DC in its entirety and Star Wars, which is a gigantic series. It makes me think that Sony came to Lego for this, which would make sense because they want to do their thing. But will that game be exclusive or not?
Yeah.
Because this is not something that Lego is known for, and I don't know if Lego would want to go down this route, given how big the other series are. Like, yeah, Horizon's big. I don't think Horizon's Star Wars level, personally.
it's an exclusive because it's a PlayStation franchise. Like I get what you're saying, but like it it's a Horizon thing. It's big in the PlayStation ecosystem. It won't sell as well as Star Wars or DC.
No, I know.
They're not really expecting it to.
It's just something I'm thinking about because like Lego
I get
never
it.
really been about this before. I know that they had that one game that was like PC for a bit, but then eventually that came to everywhere.
You just got to get prepared for Lego Star Wars 6 to be exclusive to PS6, man. Just get ready for that.
Fuck out.
PlayStation gonna buy Lego.
That'd be insane.
So what is Moon just came in. He was sitting here for a while. I was waiting for like a lull in the conversation. Moon, how are you doing?
I don't want to buy a Horizon remake.
That's messed up, man.
Oh my god. He comes in, roast PlayStation. Fusion, we got to host our own podcast. That's what I'm saying. Let's
We need the Sony Pony Express.
for real.
Also, I just realized someone changed the Discord to slice of Nintendo now. God damn it.
Moving on, more financial. We actually have the financial year results. Genki has this PS5 units sold. This is a Q4. PS5 units sold 4.5 mil. Lifetime units 59.3 million. Full game software units 72.6 million. First party software units 12.3 million. Digital download ratio 77%. Monthly active users 118 million. Now, if you specifically, very interesting thing here with the monthly active users, 118 million. So that means, if I'm doing my math right, no wait, is it over half? It's around half are still on PS4 versus PS5. And then what's it called here? Helldivers 2 has sold over 12 million copies as of May 5th, a new record for PlayStation. Specifically, this is now the fastest selling PlayStation game of all time, beating God of War Ragnarok. And I have a couple questions here to specifically talk about PS5. Will PS5 be able to maintain its momentum? It seems to have a very strong momentum, but it is increasing in sales. It has a faster rate of growth than the PS4, but it is slowing down still comparatively to its 2023 growth. Matt Piscatello was talking about that. Do you think it's going to be able to eventually like outdo the PS4 sales wise, or is it going to have kind of a slow like middle of the generation pit?
I don't think it'll top the PS4.
Yeah, I think the PS4 was kind of an anomaly with how much yeah, can't talk. With how well it sold. I think it's an anomaly kind of like, well, no, the Wii made sense because it was very family focused, very casual. But PS4 became like I'm not a Nintendo casual, I am a gamer, so I'm going to own a PS4 kind of thing. Whereas PlayStation 5, we've kind of moved on from that, and the PS4 is still alive. I think once they start kicking the bucket on the PlayStation 4, maybe then we'll start seeing some like actual growth on the PS5. But for like the casual audience, they just don't see it worth the upgrade yet.
I will say, this seems to be the year that it is fully kicking the bucket. We're going to talk about it later. Call of Duty and the new Assassin's Creed are PS5 Series X exclusives, so no PS4 versions for either game. So it seems now like everyone is fully shifted. This is current gen. We're not going to call it next gen anymore. I'm tired of saying next gen when it's like it's 4 years in. It's
Yeah, I know.
current gen.
If I could say real quick, I'll play devil's advocate. I actually do think the PS5 will end up crossing the PS4. I say that because when you look at the PS4 era, the amount of games that were coming out, that was the reason that PS4 was selling so much, so well. Think of the last 12 months of PlayStation and how the meme is like, where are their games? Like, there's not a lot of games out. Once this cycle, which we don't know, we're just assuming. We've seen people like Shinobi and a few other people on Twitter like hint out like, hey, 2025 and beyond is going to be insane for PlayStation, like at a game release time. If we're in this dry time where the PlayStation is still selling 6 million units when was physically no game coming out, I can't imagine when there's a Ghost on the table and it's only on PS5, or when there's a Venom on the table and it's only on PS5, and when there's a Wolverine on the table, like they still have so many more years to have incredible heavy hitters. Think of the PS4 era from 2016, 2017 through 2020. That like 4-year stint of where it was like Uncharted 4, Days Gone, I guess, Last of Us Part 2, Ghost, God of War, Spider-Man. Like, think of those games. There was like 6 or 7 games there where I still feel like we're waiting for that moment on the PS5 era, and we still have 3 to 4 years for them to get to that moment where I'm like, I could see just insane. Also, if there's a PS5, like a PS5 Pro comes into the question, and then maybe they can PS5s, like in general, are just going to start getting less in price. Like they're going to go down in price. There's a whole thing here where like the PS5 had a sale increase. Remember, like a year and a half ago, the PS5 never went down in cost. Once that Pro hits, people are going to be like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like we're still setting up where it's like the PS5 is going to have an insane couple of years coming up when games are actually on the system. That I think at some point it's going to pass the PS4. I think by the time it's done, by 2027, whatever it is, I think it does. It's going to be close probably. I don't think it's going to be something like landslide, but I could definitely see like it squeak out the win and be like, hey, the PS5 has now surpassed the PS4.
I mean, Hiroki Totoki, what you were saying about Shinobi and like what they were saying about like 2025 looking insane. Genki had this. I forgot to include it. Sony president Hiroki Totoki said they do not expect a sales increase from first party this fiscal year, but for financial year 25 and 26, they expect increased sales from first party. And he specifically says first party. So maybe that's what you're talking about, Fusion, where like that's when the first party heavy hitters are gonna just start coming out at like a rapid, heavy pace. I mean, those two we already know like that's most likely gonna happen around next year, I would assume. There's still people like Bench who are very confident that it's this year. How do we tell them? But it's looking like 2025 beyond. Like hopefully that can be like the second win that the PlayStation 5 needs. Um, Moving into the Helldivers 2 discussion, I'm actually very curious what you guys think about this. Is Helldivers 2 going to become PlayStation's most successful game? And I say this because right now, the best selling PlayStation first party game we found out from the Insomniac leak was Horizon Zero Dawn. He sold around 23 million. And that's like PlayStation first party for all consoles. That's like PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, beyond all that. Helldivers 2 is currently the fastest selling at like 12 million units in a 3 month span. That is a very high amount. Like that's a little over what God of War reached in its 3 month span. God of War Ragnarok specifically, I forget to mention. Does Helldivers 2 reach that number one spot, or are we going to see it kind of like fizzle down a little because I feel like the momentum keeps coming up.
For
I
one,
think
it's
it
kind of
probably fizzle
cheating.
down at 15.
Hmm?
Unless they keep adding like crazy big like updates to the game, it'll probably start settling down soon.
I mean, that's the thing though. I feel like they keep getting crazy big updates. They keep doing war bonds and stuff. I assume like in the next coming weeks, they've been prepping for something big. I've been kind of noticing their social media. They like feel like they're prepping for like a really big, like maybe a new faction and whatnot. I don't know. Like, I feel like the Helldivers conversation. There was a hint or a hit for the conversation for a bit, but then it immediately came back, and I feel like people are on the very positive sentiment with this game.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like it's obviously not cheating, but it being on PC day and date compared to all these other games, like
Oh yeah, for sure.
it has a gigantic advantage where like we've seen multiple times. You take the PC audience out of this video game, these sale numbers are very different. I mean, they're like not even close to this 12 million mark. But I'm kind of with Dark. I think unless they do keep up with like insane updates, obviously Helldivers 2 is. I think that's going to be a type of game where people are always playing. But I think it's going to be a game where like 3 to 4 months from now, we're just talking about where it's like, oh, it finally hit 15 million sales, like, oh, or maybe 60 million. Like, I feel like we're at a point where not like Tears of the Kingdom, but remember that Tears of the Kingdom moment where like it sold insanely well, and then we checked eight
Oh
months
yeah.
later, and it was like a million more, like from 8 months ago or whatever. Like, this gives me similar vibes where it's. I feel like other than outside of updates, everyone who wants Helldivers 2 probably has Helldivers 2 type stuff. Where like if you're not interested in Helldivers 2, I can't imagine there's anything that Helldivers 2 can show you now where it's like, okay, now we want to jump in. You're always gonna have sales down the line and like the game will go on sale and like plenty of other stuff to help the sales. But I don't think it's going to be as strong to get to the point where it passes a Horizon Zero Dawn or it passes, especially if a remake's real, count that in the Horizon Zero Dawn's numbers.
Go.
And yeah, so I don't know. And did that Horizon Zero Dawn number even count the PC sales of Horizon Zero Dawn?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. So like, yeah, it would be interesting. I don't think it would. I don't think Helldivers 2 has enough juice on the back end to be like, hey, we're going to become that number one. But at the same time, if it did, it's a cool story and good for them.
Hey, I mean, if we get, I think depending on whatever the sales update is next quarter, that's when we can start to determine like, okay, is it actually going to hit it? If like it went up by like 4 million units in the next quarter, it's like, oh damn, it could catch up. Versus like, oh, it went up by like 200K.
My bigger fear is that PlayStation sees the disgusting success of Helldivers 2, which is awesome. They deserve it. And they're like, say Concord comes out and it's just not like it doesn't hit that six. I'm maybe it's not a bad thing, but I'm wondering if like say Concord drops and it's just not nearly as big as Helldivers 2, if they're just like, hey Concord team, you're never making another live service game again, or like you're never making a project like this again. Like I wonder if they'll be either either they go two ways with this place with Helldivers. They're like, okay, we see Helldivers 2 was such a success. Let's make less live service games of more quality like that so the numbers can look better. Or Helldivers 2 was such a big hit. Stop making single player games. Let's just throw a live service at the wall. But it seems like they went back on their live service approach for the last 6-8 months. We've seen they cut it in half, but that was before Helldivers 2 success. We have no idea what their plan looks like after the way Helldivers 2 popped off.
I mean, you brought it up, Concord. This is the last thing from PlayStation. Sony reiterates Concord is still set to release this year. Shinobi has it. I mean, Concord, is that enough? Is that enough for this year for PlayStation? I assume probably the Horizon remakes also this year. It's like, is Concord gonna be a banger? I
really
we
hope
don't
so.
know. We don't know. That's the thing. Also, they still haven't even said if it's first or third person shooter.
Yeah,
I
we have
just
seen
don't know.
literally nothing.
For some reason,
Nothing.
I did say I think they said first.
Did they? I have not
Yeah,
seen
I'm almost certain. I'll
Hmm.
check real quick. But I still have beef with Bill, whatever that guy's name was,
Billy
on
Billy.
Twitter, where he was like, "This game's like Guardian of the Galaxy, and PlayStation fans are gonna see it very soon." He said that in January. Come on, man. What do you mean we're seeing it soon? But yeah,
I mean,
right here, I'm reading. It says, Concord, blah, blah. Concord is our new PvP multiplayer first-person shooter coming to PS5 and
that's,
PC. So
it
it is
won't
first
get
person.
confused for Helldivers. That's actually a good
Yeah,
thing. It's
that
first
is a
person.
good thing to have a third-person live service shooter and a first-person shooter in the same year. It adds some parity.
What about fair games?
That's next year
What-
for sure, but
I
that
don't
will
know.
be a third-person type thing.
That's not what I'm excited for. I'll be honest.
I've been the Concord guy for a few months, and it's gonna probably backfire hard. But
Your
I couldn't just help
personality.
but get excited when they're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy. Granted, the article could mean nothing at this point because he just lied to my face. He was right about everything else, but the one Concord article he put out apparently was just not true at this rate. So I don't know. I think your question of is it enough? Absolutely not. Definitely not. Definitely not for PlayStation fans that want a premier prestige single player. But if you're getting Concord, Horizon Zero Dawn remake, whatever, and perhaps an Astrobot, if you're
God,
getting
I
that
hope.
type of project, it's still not enough in my opinion, but it's way better than just straight Concord. Unless Concord's like this, if Concord has a Helldivers 2 like approach and like has it pops off like that, then we won't be having this conversation. We'll be like, okay, Sony released two of the biggest live service games in the same year, but that seems like nearly impossible to do with a live service market.
No, I'm right there with you. We will have to wait and see. But one thing that we don't have to wait and see for is Square Enix. Actually, I guess we kind
I
of
have so much to talk about here.
Oh man, don't
I
worry.
was
I'll hand
waiting
it
to
to
do
you.
this.
I'll hand it to you in a minute. Just let me read the story first. Oh, Jesus, man, he loves interrupting me. Oh wait! I forgot to. Okay, I almost screwed up like I did last time. I'm gonna read Bench's thing. Bench sent me thoughts about PlayStation. For Sony, I think this two CEO thing is a good move. One is focused on games and the other on hardware. We've seen recently what can happen when leadership is understaffed and not given a big focus. So I think this will be a good move. Was that an Xbox thing? That was an Xbox thing. Okay. Remind me at the end of the Square story to read Bench's thing because he has something for Square too. Anyways, Square. Warrior 64 has the Square Enix will aggressively pursue
Aggressively.
a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Now, there's a lot more to get into, but just off the rip, they seem to be very hardcore, the multi-platform approach. And I guess the question just to ask, is this multi-platform approach, obviously I think we can all agree it's a good thing, but is it enough to help Square Enix? Is Square Enix going to be able to utilize the strategy and be able
Yes.
to grow with multi-platform? I'll hand it over to Dark because he's
So
got a lot to say.
right off the get-go with Square Enix, if you were to look back in their past, they are the they were, I should say, where the things are changing now. They were so set in their ways where they thought that they were like the hot shit. Like we had articles way back after, I think it was directly after Final Fantasy 16 released, that they put up Final Fantasy 16 on a bid where Microsoft and Sony had the bid for whoever got it. Like whoever bid the most, they got the exclusive rights to that game. And then you had other experiences where they would put games exclusive on the Switch instead of everywhere. And this is like really old games. Like I think it was the Final Fantasy collection that they did recently. There was some weird exclusivity shit with that. And it's just been blowing up in their face. And then on top of that, you also have Hard as Hell's like Final Fantasy VII remake project, which is or one remake of a single game broken up into 3 parts that's already hard enough to sell. On top of it being exclusive, it just didn't really make sense why they were so aggressive with this. It's just them being old Japanese company, I should say. This being said, we've seen something similar happen with Sega, where they were pretty much in the same boat as Square Enix, where they were like super old in their ways, and then for whatever reason they decided, hey, let's do Persona 4 Golden on PC. Just to see how it is. They just did a test run. And that game blew the fuck up. And there was an article that came out of their reactions, and it was that light bulb moment that everyone was able to see that, like, oh shit, if you put games on other platforms, people will buy it. And then there was always like the whole back and forth that people would say, oh, but Xbox people don't buy Japanese games. It's not just them. This multi-platform approach is going to be PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and Switch, because we know that the new Switch is apparently a lot stronger than it is now. Them finally following in the path that Capcom set forward for Japanese games is going to help them tremendously, as long as they continue to pump out good quality content. If they can keep doing that alongside of this new push, they're going to be golden.
I'm with you. Where obviously this is a better, like, the multi-platform is. I've since I've been. I know you're very strong against, like, you don't like exclusives at all, which I understand. And since I've been more ingrained in the PC platform, I'm not fully on board with that idea, but I'm also like, now I understand. Now I want more multi-plat games just so I can play them on my PC. But my only pushback with Square, this is obviously a better idea to go multi-plat because it's obviously hasn't been working with Sony. And it's so crazy to see, even just 3 years ago, how it seemed like every PlayStation fan wanted PlayStation to buy Sony. Wanted PlayStation to buy Square Enix. They were like, we want Square Enix under PlayStation, like, we want their game exclusive. And it didn't happen. And I assume PlayStation are very happy that never ended up being a thing. My one pushback though is, like, people always bring up like Capcom and you bring up like Atlas and Sega, like whatever. I'm not trying to be a Square Enix hater. I'm sure they have great IPs I'm not aware of because I'm not other than Final Fantasy. I can't name another one. I'll be honest. Visions of Mana or whatever. That one, Mana, I guess. But
they had cut you off real quick. I feel bad. They had really good IPs, and then they sold all their fucking studios. Guardians of the Galaxy
They had
was a game of
Hitman
all
and
time.
everything. Like, they had Hitman at one point.
Guardians of the
Tomb
Galaxy is
Raider.
such a golden game, and then they sold it.
Well,
That's
the
what I
thing.
mean. So like that's
they were,
the. You can go.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
No, just real quick. They sold those studios because they were looking to be bought, and they never got
Mhm.
bought.
Yeah.
But that was the
So,
assumption.
just
We don't know if they were looking to get bought.
And
or not.
also, if you're going to look to get bought, why would you get rid of them? If I'm like someone who's going to buy a Square Enix, I would want them less when they're like, nah, we don't have Hitman or Tomb Raider or Guardians of the Galaxy anymore. We don't have those anymore, but you want us now when we only have Final Fantasy?
It was the assumption that they were trying to set themselves up better to be bought. It was either that, because we don't really know what really happened. It was either that, or we know that Avengers tanked them so fucking badly, and that game was bad. It tanked them so bad. They are still hurting from that.
That's my thing, though, is like, again, Binks is going to hate me because he's the biggest Square Enix Final Fantasy fan in the world, whatever. When I think of Capcom and the IPs they have and how rich their IPs are, I'm like, that's why multi-platform worked. That's why Capcom's on top of the world. When I look at Square Enix, this is going to help, absolutely. But if Square Enix doesn't start making more franchises or making more beloved IPs that aren't just Final Fantasy games, I still feel like they're going to be at a point where they're like, we're still underselling. Like, we're still not reaching our sale marks because it seems less and less people care about Final Fantasy anymore, which that could have been just because they were mainly only on the PlayStation. But it even seems like when Crisis Core came to PC, like, people weren't caring about Crisis Core on PC or Xbox. Like, people just Final Fantasy seems like it's such in a lull of like, hey, we've had 700 of them at that point. We just care less and less.
There's a,
And
My bad for cutting you off. There you can go.
And it's just like it seems like Capcom has the Resident Evil and the Monster Hunter and the Street Fighter. It just seems to me like Square Enix is so heavy on just like Final Fantasy is us and we are Final Fantasy that until they start branching out more, which obviously they have years to do it, we're still going to get articles and headlines and all types of stuff where it's like this multi-platform helped a little bit, but we're still underselling our games.
So there's more to it than just the multi-platform. When you go into like the more nitty-gritty articles, they start talking about it more. They mention specifically they're gonna stop following so heavily on one guy specifically. And there's two people who this can be referring to. It's either Nomura or it's either the 14 dude, which he's carrying Square Enix right now. I'm pretty sure they're talking about Nomura when they mentioned this. And I remember it was Moon who posted it back in the Discord a while back when this first dropped. I love Nomura. I love his work. His shit is really complicated. He loves doing multi-part, really hard to get into series. He's the reason like Final Fantasy 15 is the way it is. He's Kingdom Hearts. He's a big part of the 7 project. And those are all great projects. They're just difficult to get people into those projects, if that makes sense. So them kind of like stepping back and like branching out. It's like, more so to be doing that stuff, but kind of letting other people get a chance to shine. I think that'll help too. And it's not me hating on Nomura or anything. His shit's just really niche, and Square Enix doesn't need that right now.
Real quick, Fusion. So what you were saying about Square Enix IPs, the thing is, I feel like they keep trying to. Like I feel like they keep trying to like bring these IPs, but the problem is they don't market them. Like they don't give them the same level of marketing and attention that like a Final Fantasy is, because they don't make them feel important. They do, oh, Octopath Traveler 2, and everyone forgot it came out because it came out in the middle of February with like zero marketing. They did
The world
there
ends
was
with you had next to no marketing.
Yep, The World Ends With You, Valkyria Elysium. Did you even remember that game happened?
No,
There's
I
a lot
forgot
of
about Kingdom Hearts. Sorry, Kingdom Hearts fans.
yeah, Kingdom Hearts is a big thing as
So their
well.
biggest
But
series
like
right now is Final Fantasy, of course, Kingdom Hearts, and Nier. That's the 3 that Square Enix got right now. I see them branching out more though.
I mean, the thing is though, so this is actually a really interesting wrench in the equation. Final Fantasy is their big series in the West. Japan, Final Fantasy does well, but the Square Enix franchise that actually does really well in Japan, Dragon Quest. That is their heavy hitter in Japan. The problem,
They
it
haven't
does
had
not sell at
anything
all in
Dragon
the
Quest
West.
whatsoever.
What'd you say, Dirk? You
They haven't
wanna
had
talk
anything
about that?
Dragon Quest like whatsoever as of late.
Oh yeah, no. Well, there's spin-offs and stuff, but the last main line was with
No, not even
11.
mainly. Like, when do you see like?
There was a spin-off
It's
last
like,
year,
yeah, but it's
but like
not really talked about or anything. It's like under
that's
the
the thing.
radar.
It's like that's the thing. It's not talked about in the West. This is the biggest franchise in Japan is Dragon Quest, but like they've tried multiple times. I want to point this out. They have tried so many times, but for some reason, Dragon Quest just does not do well in the West. It's the same with Final Fantasy in Japan. It just doesn't do as well as Dragon Quest in Japan. So there's this weird thing where like Square Enix has IPs that are strong, but they're not megaton level. Like, do I was actually talking about this with a friend. Fusion, would you put Final Fantasy as an IP brand, and Dark too, and Moon? I'll ask all of you actually. Would you put the Final Fantasy brand on the same level as Resident
No.
Yes, but because of its legacy.
Evil? Let's remove the legacy. Just currently, right now, to like the current day
No.
kids.
No, it doesn't stand a chance next to Resident Evil right now.
Today, no.
Yeah,
It may be
today-
like 10 years ago before Resident Evil 2 remake happened, maybe.
And that's my thing. I think that right now, that is their biggest franchise, and it's not even bigger than Capcom's biggest
Hey,
franchise.
shout out Life is Strange. That might be their biggest franchise, low key.
Yeah, but enough
It's
to think of
fine.
like it shouldn't. Their biggest franchise. They were not in a position to begin with, in my opinion, to be marketing. Like they have such an ego where like you're making people bid on your game for exclusivity. They were not in a position to be doing this. You want as many eyes on your game as possible, just to help you out as possible. Multiplat is the way that it's just like common sense shit that they should have been doing that they have not, and is biting them in the ass.
I'm curious. I sound like such a doomer about Square. I think they're gonna be fine. Like I
Yeah,
don't
they'll
think
be
they're
fine.
gonna be like going away. But like it's one of my questions is are Square's IPs losing relevance? And this kind of comes from a financial report. Let me pull it up. Takashi Taka, Taka, Takashi Mochizuki, he's a Bloomberg reporter. He says Square Enix said FF16 sales fell short of expectations. Initial momentum was in line with expectations, but the game failed to reach financial year goal as its momentum slowed. No updates from sales number last announced at 3 million. Rebirth sales fell short of expectations. Initial momentum didn't reach an initial target. No sales number to share. Foam Stars fell short of expectations. Shocker.
Another
Remains
exclusive too.
remains confident FF16 can achieve its goal over the original 18-month sales plan. Also, sales of Rebirth and Foam Stars aren't bad. And then reorganized development team into 5 console teams, 1 smartphone game team. Dragon Quest 12 remains under development. I saw some people saying like, "Oh, well, this guy Takashi Mochizuki, he doesn't have credible sources." He's a Bloomberg reporter. He works at the same site as Jason Schreier. I choose to believe him over like some random Twitter guys. That's all I'll say. But I mean, we see these numbers, and it seems like even Final Fantasy is not hitting the nail. And again, it's not like it sells bad. The sales are not bad, but they're not to the level that I think Square Enix is expecting. And obviously, it's a meme. Square Enix sales did not reach expectations. This has been a meme for decades, since Tomb Raider back in 2013. That one didn't sell enough to reach expectations. They have really ridiculous expectations. If they can bring those expectations in line, maybe shorten their budgets, shorten their development times, maybe then we'll start to see Square come back on top as like, wow, this is a premier developer, the same level that Capcom is at the moment.
I think again it ties back into focusing too much on a single person's like vision for their games.
And that's why they're doing the separation.
Yeah,
Yep.
like I want you guys to actually think about it. Imagine getting somebody who's never into Final Fantasy into everything that's going on in Final Fantasy VII right now, where you got the original game, you got the remake trilogy, you got the movie, you got Crisis Core, which you have to play to understand what the fuck's going on with Zack's head Rebirth. It's like, what the fuck? You can't just be like, here, to play this game, and then you go. It's a whole mess. And then with the remake trilogy on top of it, it's a hard sell trying to get people to play one game that they're doing, split it across 3 different parts. And this is their big focus right now. It's like, yo, what the fuck are you guys doing?
The remake strategy is really the most interesting thing to me. It's
a
I always
good
say this,
idea, and I know that they're trying to milk 7 plus 7 as their like golden child. This is not the time to do it, or at least not the way to do it. I don't think multi-platform, not being multi-plat hurt us the most. For Final Fantasy 16, it did good, but the exclusivity to a next gen, well, it's not even next gen anymore, but to the PS5, where most of the player base is on the PS4, that hurt it too.
Here's the thing. Separating a remake into 3 parts may be a bad idea as a business thing. We don't got to tell them that, all right? It's working out for us. We're getting good games. So let's just let them continue making bad decisions. That's what I thought. But I don't know. It's just, it, I, the thing about Square, I want to be excited for Square Enix. I want to be like, yeah, they're the premier developer in Japan right now. And then, here's the thing, they're making good games. Their games are great. It just feels weird that like every Square games that comes out, it's like this didn't sell well, this didn't sell enough, or like you get a random Square game that like released last week, and it's like, wait, I don't even hear about that. And it's just about like tighten up your focus, like focus on fewer games, stop like spread shotgunning like a bunch of random IPs that you put like $2 of budget in marketing on, and try to figure out how you can make your IP sell. And I think the multi-platform approach is a great idea. It will hopefully get more people, especially PC. You want PC. That is an
You
important
want
player
everybody.
base. That's
And
the
PC is a
highest
big part of
growth
it.
margin at the moment. Like right now, like Matt Piscatella talks about, it's like PC and mobile are the biggest growth sectors in gaming at the moment. And I think you want to capture that PC audience above all else.
And
I
they
think
touched on it. You have to stop making random games. You just have to stop doing foam stars. Like it's not gonna work. It's never gonna work. Stop making them. Like stick to your IPs. Make a new one if you want, but stick to making maybe one game a year or 2 games a year. Go the Capcom route where it's like it's not like Capcom's always releasing games every single month, but when they release a game, it's usually once a year or maybe twice a year. But those games are like premier prestige titles. It's like you follow that path instead of being like, I guarantee Square Enix put out 17 games last year. Half of them were probably exclusive to the Switch, and no one bought them because that's just like what they've been doing for so long. They just make so many random games, throw them at the wall, and you're like, oh, that's another Square Enix game that you wouldn't have any idea it's Square Enix, but it was Square Enix. It's like if they can just stop doing those things, focus back on, like they said in their own words, was quality over quantity, and then also go multi-plat, like they will have a room for success. It's just it's going to take multiple years to get there, and I fear that they have the years to spare, but part of me is just like they can't go through this whole our games still aren't selling for another 3 to 4 years. I just don't see how it could be sustainable.
I'm of the perspective that this is something that's been happening to a lot of Japanese companies one by one, and it hit Capcom first. Capcom was the first one to really deal with this, and they were like, okay, we're gonna deal with whatever exclusive we have now, which I believe was Street Fighter V at the time. They got that out the way, they finished it, and they're like, okay. And then they locked down, they basically locked in. And ever since then, that's when they came out with fucking RE2 remake, and they set the groundwork for everyone.
RE7.
And then we see that Sega now is taking up on that, where they're locking in, they're doing multi-plat across the board. That's the new thing for Sega. But now they're also remaking older games to help cover the pace. Older games that people enjoy, by the way, not like older games that nobody cares about. Older games that people enjoy, and then they get using that as a cover to help give them more time to work on the next mainline entry, which is probably gonna be good. And
next is sorry.
I don't know if this is something like to do it with just Japanese games aren't doing that well, or they're getting in over their heads. We just seeing this trend happen. Capcom set the path forward of how to succeed, and to me, this it's not me dooming. This is just Square Enix finally like waking the fuck up, and we're finally seeing them follow the path too. I also think after remake project's done, we know that part 3 is gonna be exclusive, and that's perfectly fine. After remake project is done, let the people who worked on that give them a fucking break. Let Takahashi, that's a different room. Let Nomura go to Kingdom Hearts and kind of keep him in there. Let him do his artwork for the Final Fantasy protagonist, as he loves to do that. Outside of this, keep him in his Kingdom Hearts spot. Start getting more people out there, and they'll be perfectly fine.
Konami's next to lock in, right? My boys, my goats.
Konami needs to be like, I don't know, they need to be alive first. I think they're kind of dead. I don't know what the fuck Konami's doing.
My man just like waited. He was like, like, oh no, they're so dead.
Some people are kind of like Beyonce. Maybe.
Oh, God bless. Last thing here, I just wanted to mention real quick. Genki has this. Oh, go for it.
What did Bank say about this?
Oh, wow. Look at you.
I was going to mention it after you finish the next point.
Well, I assume his next point will have anything to do with what you're about to say.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. You're right. So Bench says, for Square, none of this news is surprising. Dark is a loser and he's ugly. What the fuck?
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, that's fucked up.
We knew they were going to majorly cut costs, and in the long run, I think it'll be affected. We are just going to keep hearing this news for a bit because it'll take 2 to 3 years for real results. Square is not doomed. All right, so we'll see, buddy. No, okay. I think that's actually makes sense. 2 to 3 years. Do you think that's the time frame we're looking at?
I think we can see it as soon as like the end of this year. Next year, we start seeing a multi-plat strategy. I don't think Final Fantasy 16 is gonna be a while before that comes to Xbox, and that's perfectly fine. But we know it's coming to PC, and then all they can do, even if they just do a slight delay, is just make sure it's on everything. Whatever the next games are, which we know that they cut down on something. I still think Final Fantasy 9 remake's the next big thing that they have alongside Dragon Quest. Just take more time on it.
I think if Square is smart, they're gonna really fucking abuse that Switch too. They're gonna throw out like remake, rebirth ports, maybe not rebirth, but like remake for sure.
You want the Switch 2 to explode?
Like a lot of Dragon Quest stuff. You're gonna have a lot of the FF9 remake. I think that could be a Switch 2 launch title. You want to get something for launch. That's kind of my viewpoint. Is that launch for a Nintendo system, like with how good the Switch did, I think all third-party developers are looking. It's like we need to get something out there in the first couple months at least. So yeah, I'm very excited. Last point here. This is separate. Nier Automata director Yoko Taro, this is Genki by the way, and Nier producer Yosuke Saito working on a new project with Nier composer Kaiichi Okabe. Yoko Taro says, it might be Nier, it might not be Nier, laughs. That's all I can say for now.
It's Nier.
Dark Derek, what is he doing? Is this man
Okay.
teasing us again? It's been
So,
7 years.
Look, I know you personally was not that invested inside the mobile game story, which got shut down. Well, not shut down. It finished. The mobile game finished. There is very big implications about Near 3 and what that game's gonna be about at the very end of that game. They pretty much give you like the good old wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And we know that he's not done with Near, but they also got the anime going, and even the anime was teasing shit. And it's been a hot minute since Automata too. It's
7 years.
yeah. It's fucking been a hot minute. I mean, technically, he considered the mobile game his next, like the follow-up to Automata, even though it's a
God,
mobile game.
I hate when they do that. Like, no,
I
it's
feel like
not. You know what we want.
that's a square decision. They're like, we want a mobile game, we're doing Near. And they're like, okay, fuck it.
When is this thing coming out? That's what I want. When can I get this?
So they're starting. We know that they're starting this like now. So we're not gonna see a teaser for like 2 years.
They starting it now?
Yeah, because they just finished. Because there was also an article before that Yoko Taro was also working on it. He's working on 2 different games. He's working on this and something else.
What were you doing for 7 years?
He was working on the mobile game.
Not bad.
That
Why
mobile
did you
game's
spend all
Near
that
3.
time with that? Yeah, don't say that. That's like
It
calling
is.
Mario Kart. That's like calling Mario Kart Tour Mario Kart 9. I will not have it.
I mean, sadly, that's the case though. But I think it's gonna be 2 years before he might like tease shit here and there, and probably season 2 of Nier Automata will probably give us a better understanding. 2 years before we see an image or video clip of whatever it is, and then 3 to 4 years for launch.
Yeah, I'll be there for it. Very excited. 3 years. Fuck off. Okay. Moving into our next story. This is an interesting little Ubisoft corner. I can just feel Fusion pumping up in the air, losing his mind right
So
now.
hyped right now, dude. You don't understand.
Assassin's Creed Shadow. I just want to get like right off the bat. How are we feeling about this trailer? They released a cinematic trailer. There's a lot of details that I'll get into later, but like right off the bat, Fusion. You're my Ubisoft guy. I want to know.
I was actually, I've said on the podcast publicly that I've been leaning more towards Outlaws as like the game where it's like we heard about Assassin's Creed Red, which we now know is Shadows, and then Outlaws, and I've always been like under the impression I'm like Outlaws is just gonna be that game that like I care more about, and it still probably is. But for a first impression, this trailer was genuinely like master crafted. Like I thought this trailer was like insanely good for just a video game trailer. Like I thought they just had everything. It felt like a short movie for the whole 4 minutes that I was watching, and all the details that you're gonna get into after was like I'm very on board with this game now more than I thought I was going to be, because I was just like, oh, it's just going to be another Assassin's Creed. I've played the last few. I'm kind of burnt out, but it's been 4 years. I'm sure I'd like it, but like I'm getting more excited about this gen only Assassin's Creed the more we get closer to it actually seeing like gameplay and stuff.
Gameplay is most likely Ubisoft forward, I assume, right? That's what they
Yeah,
said. Right?
they'll go into a deep dive. That's what they normally do.
Cool. Derek, how about you?
I'm extremely hyped for this game. I'm not really big into Ubisoft as a company, but the Assassin's Creed series, without even thinking about it, I've just unironically played next to every single game besides Mirage. That's the only one I haven't played. But this trailer looked incredible. The setting is gonna do wonders for it. Just the premise of it can do really well if they nail the story, which I think that they will, because the last few Assassin's Creeds had good stories. They were just too fucking long. They need if this game finds the sweet spot with like 50 to 60 hours instead of a 120-hour epic, this game's gonna be golden.
That's what I want to hear. Moon, how about you? Moon,
Damn,
how
I was
about you?
muted. I was muted.
Okay.
I mean, I'm interested in the concept from what we saw, or not what we saw, but what we read from details is that they basically, it's not like how Odyssey was, or what's the other one? Valhalla, where you pick a character and then you go with them. Like, no, these 2 characters are both relevant, and you're both going to be. They each have their own story that they're doing with a couple intersecting missions. So that's really cool, and it's a newer approach that I would like to see. So it really comes down to the gameplay. Comes to, like Dark said, how long it is. If it's another 120 hours of just roaming around the map, no thank you. But yeah, 40, 50, maybe 60 hours tops of a concise 2 stories, like that could be really cool, and it could bring me back to Assassin's Creed because I've actually never finished an Assassin's Creed. I've started a bunch of them, but something about them always just kind of made me drop off. But I need to see the gameplay. This is a cool CGI trailer, but stop giving me CGI trailers.
So this is the second time that they've actually done a dual protagonist with.
Oh yeah,
Assassin's
but
Creed
didn't Syndicate do it?
Yeah, but the thing with Syndicate, most people do not like that game.
That's the
Whoa,
thing is
wait,
though.
what?
Yeah,
I
most
hear
people
Syndicate
like
is
that
like
game.
the underdog, like that most people actually do like, but it's not big. Like it never hit well, but the people who did
When
play
it
it
came
really
out-
liked it.
when it came out, it was not that well received. It's not a bad game. I enjoyed Syndicate, but I feel like they're viewing this as their redemption arc from Syndicate.
The only thing I know about Syndicate is like at the time, I think players like it, like you were saying. At the time, it reviewed lower than what Assassin's Creed normally review at. I'm pretty sure.
It was also at the tail end of like when Assassin's Creed Exhaust was like at its peak.
Yeah.
So that's also didn't help. So the fact that some people are saying, yeah, Assassin's Creed is actually just really good. It just came out at a really bad time due to exhaustion of the brand. That's when because wasn't the Syndicate the last one before they rebranded to
I was
Origins?
about to say. I was
I think it
going to
was.
say that. I think it was right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they took that exhaustion to heart and be like, okay, we need to like retool this entire thing, and they did.
But it's really cool
Yeah,
that they're
Unity was the
bringing
one
back
that really.
old concepts. Like I would like to see them bring back the co-op from Unity. If they can do that in a game that's not utterly broken, it would
Yeah.
be fucking great.
Unity is actually an interesting one. That's one of the ones where like people didn't really care for it at launch, but like over time, it's like, oh, actually, Unity's awesome.
Yeah, like now that they
Unity
fixed
is
it, like, oh,
great
this is actually
when
a
the
good
game's
game.
good. When at launch, I was there at launch. That was an experience. There was like,
Oh, you were there.
you guys seen the image? It's like of the fucking guy fell his face.
Oh yeah,
That was there.
I want to get into
and-
some of these details. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'm optimistically interested, but at the same time, it could easily just be like, oh, there's just more Assassin's Creed. So I'll keep an eye
Yeah.
out. But the fact it's coming out in November, and that tends to be a very busy month. But we'll see. Also
This
see
is
how
definitely-
Outlaws does.
Yeah, I'm actually very curious about that. That's a question I wanted to ask, but like for that, I'm curious about this one. I do love the Japan setting. I love the dual protagonist. The story of Yasuke is very fascinating. I'm not the biggest Assassin's Creed guy. I hope they kind of tool their combat to feel a lot better. I think the samurai setting, feudal Japan. Actually, this isn't even. This is Azuchi Momoyama period. I just wanted to make sure. Oh yeah, feudal Japan. I am curious to see if this could be the one that gets me in. This is probably the biggest chance of an Assassin's Creed to get me in. So I'll keep my eyes out on it.
So-
Depending on what comes out that month, I think I'm
In terms of lore for Assassin's Creed, because they really tie the lore into the gameplay for whatever fucking reason. The last few Assassin's Creeds, was the big thing about Assassin's Creed was the one-hit assassinations. Right? You play as an assassin, you jump down on somebody, you kill them. That's like the whole power fantasy trope. Oh, what was it? Origins? Origins changed that, which made it more RPG-like. And the excuse that they made was the assassins aren't really a thing yet. Origins is like the birth of the assassins. You ain't even fucking really got them in Odyssey. And in Valhalla, you're just in this like an ally to the assassins.
just a
In this
Viking.
game, story-wise, the assassins and the Templars are back, and we can even see the hidden blade in that full action. If they can start going back to like the stuff that worked from the older games, it'll help out a lot as well.
I mean, Mirage brought a lot of that back. Like,
That's a-
Mirage has one-hit assassins.
I'm just going
and, like,
off of what I know, but I have not played Mirage yet.
Yeah, well,
That's the only one I
Mirage
haven't
was Mirage was very much like this is a callback to original Assassin's Creed style Assassin's Creed games. Whereas like
And
this
no one
is the
bought it, by
next
the
big
way.
open world Assassin's Creed game. This is
Yeah.
the next in the Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla.
You need a mixture of the two to really get a really solid game.
Exactly. I do have some details from Shinobi that I wanted to run through. I don't want to go through all of them, but there's a couple things here. First off, where is it? Okay, there's large open world as big as Assassin's Creed Origins. If there's one thing a lot of people didn't like about Valhalla was that map size, and it seems like this one's closer to Origins. It says, and I know
That was still
Fusion,
pretty
you were-
That's good.
Oh yeah, it's still
As long
big.
as it's not like Odyssey size. Odyssey was fucking insane.
I mean Valhalla. That was I think
Valhalla
Valhalla
didn't.
was
Valhalla was big, but it didn't feel big. I don't
It
know. how to
was
explain
bigger
it.
than Odyssey, though.
It was, but
twice
like
the
it didn't
size of
feel like
Origins.
Odyssey. You feel it because
Honestly,
you
you
have the
feel it
ocean.
because you're on the boat all the time.
you have
you
the
have
boat.
to get to places from the boat.
So another detail that I wanted to get into.
Well, hold on, just to throw in real quick about the map
Oh
size.
yeah, go for it.
I absolutely love this, and for people who don't know, Origins is smaller than GTA 5's map. So for the people who are like, that map's still too big, sure, it's a big map, but I've never heard anyone complain GTA 5 map is too big. I've never heard anyone be like, GTA 5, that map is gigantic.
Most of that
Like
map
Origins,
is like Mount Chiliad.
yeah, I mean, granted, most of that map, yeah, you're usually not in Mount Chiliad doing random stuff, and Assassin's Creed Origins use like every part of their map. But yeah, like this is Origins was less than half the size of Valhalla. Like I think this is perfect for a. I'd be interested to see what Origins lined up to Ghost of Tsushima, like what the size difference would be there. Because I felt like they did such a good job with their like island and that like with Japan and just the way they did it. It'd be interesting to see like the size comparison. But I think off the bat, this is a great idea to be like, hey, we're gonna scale down the map by a large margin. Still big enough for like, hey, this is a huge open world game, but it's still like, hey, this isn't a huge open world game that you're going to have to spend 20 minutes going from one coast to the other.
To get into the other details, you can freely switch between the two in the open world, and there are set personal quests where you play as one of the two characters. This is the thing that got me excited. Full dynamic lighting system illuminated by sunlight, torches, lanterns. The game progresses to 4 different seasons. And this is the cool thing: you can hide in shadows to escape enemies and take out light sources to evade detection, a la Splinter Cell. So it seems like they really want to go into kind of light, shadows, hiding in shadows. That gets me excited. I love stealth games, but I feel like lately stealth game fans we've been abused. Okay, Arcane shut down, or Arcane Austin shut down. Deathloop, I wouldn't really consider that much of a stealth game. Still a great game, but it's not the stealth game I want. Metal Gear is Metal Gear right now. That's under Konami. Splinter Cell, I mean, we're still waiting for that remake. So it's like right now, this is our final shot. we've been like hungry. Hopefully, Assassin's Creed can like nail the stealth mechanics with this.
If it doesn't, we're gonna be Far Cry to
Oh,
come back and get to it.
so going back to what I touched on earlier with the RPG systems of the more recent games, they had stuff, but it wasn't really stuff. Because as soon as you got into combat, you start fighting. Just off of this detail alone, the one-hit assassinations are coming back, which allow for stealth.
Well, they already said it's coming back.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And also, you can go pacifist as well if you want to knock.
Oh yeah, they also said this is the first game where like you can just knock people out and like you die.
I ain't about that life
Yeah.
right now. You dying. That's what.
Oh, that's crazy.
Wait. Okay, and then Metal Gear Solid 5, you killed them.
Okay, I kidnapped them for resources.
That's what-
He kidnapped them, blackmailed them, and sold them off to other people.
Like, I own them.
Asian, you gotta understand how that system works.
Oh.
You gotta play MGS5 to get it.
I kidnapped them for resources. I'll let them live.
Also, just were you done with the points?
Yeah. You want to get into it?
Yeah, I was gonna say the no like why am I blanking on the word? I don't have the tweet up. But you know how like when you would get up on like a high point, it's on there somewhere. I should could pull it
The
up. But
eagles?
like yeah, the eagle points where you would
right
get
here.
up.
There are no more synchronization points that reveal
Yes,
all
that's the word I
characters
can
on the
remember.
map. Instead, they act as high vantage points.
Yeah, I love that because like that's kind of like it was that was like a Assassin's Creed version of the towers where like you would climb a tower. I mean the Far Cry, yeah, the Assassin's Creed version of like the Far Cry tower where you would climb up to a point, send your eagle out, and then like a bunch of icons would get on your map. I love that they're even taking that away and they're like, hey, no, just go find this stuff. Like we want you to just go naturally find this stuff in the world. You're not gonna go get on a super high point, call your eagle, and things are gonna appear on your map. You're like gonna actually have to go out there.
The one concern I do have, and this was mentioned in a different press release, you didn't have it linked here. The two main protagonists, they're gonna play differently. And the one concern that I have is that I would hope that they have each of them have the basic mechanics. Like I want to be a stealthy samurai. That'd be pretty.
Oh, you're not
cool.
getting that.
Like,
You are
it might
gonna
be. We don't know, but we know that this
getting
is like a
Valhalla
bruiser type.
combat, buddy.
I would hope that there's a nice middle ground for both characters, and then that they're separate enough to make them feel unique.
Did the combat change much from Odyssey to Valhalla? Like the
It's just
way that it
improved.
feels.
It's so better.
Improved?
Yeah, I would say it is technically feels a lot better.
Okay, so I'm hoping they can make it feel even better from there then. Yeah,
Valhalla gameplay, like the Valhalla combat's actually pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, once you get the Sim
That-
system down, it's not that bad.
because that was the
Skill trees
thing
are
that
fun too.
turned me off of Odyssey was the combat. So I'm like, okay, if you guys can improve your combat, make it a lot cleaner, make it a lot more fun, I'm very
My
much
biggest
interested.
issue with Odyssey, and me and Fusion talked about this before. For some reason, they decided to make you grind in the game, which is, you know what, that's perfectly fine. Whatever. Issue is, they also made it so that you can spend money to circumvent the grinding, which is a terrible practice.
Yeah, that's gonna
And
come
that-
back. I'll tell you that now.
I really hope
Time
they don't do
savers.
that, but that is fucking horrendous.
I hate time savers just as much as you, but that's probably gonna come back. I just hope they don't build the game
I mean,
around.
Odyssey kind of fixed
That
it.
was the problem.
No, not Odyssey. I mean, Valhalla kind of fixed it, but this is the Odyssey. So I don't know.
The real hope is that it's just not built around it. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I kind of wanted to ask the question here: is Shadows enough to bring back positive sentiment around Assassin's Creed as a franchise? Because like, I think you saw after Valhalla, people were kind of already burnt out on the open world style, especially with how big that game is. And it felt like it was getting multiple DLCs over and over, and people were like, "Ah, I'm getting tired of Assassin's Creed again." You know, after that break, we're back to just a bunch of Assassin's Creed. You think after Mirage, you know, it's like, hey, here's the old school Assassin's Creed, and now this, where finally an Assassin's Creed in the setting that everyone wanted, is this enough to bring people back and go, wow, you know, this is actually what I want from a set? Like, the franchise is back, you know, to the level of like Odyssey being nominated for Game of the Year back in 2018.
I mean,
mean,
we
it's-
keep saying things like, is it back? If we're looking at the Assassin's Creed Shadows pre-order numbers, if they're to be believed, it never went away. People are already excited for this. And
Oh, yeah,
Valhalla still is like one of the best next-gen titles, so it's like, I think it's only just out of favor for, you know, us gaming nerds who play a bunch of other things, but for so many other people, like, this is their game, this is their franchise.
I don't know if you guys seen it, but the reception online to this game, for the most part, has been utterly incredible.
oh yeah, people are.
And it's
very
only a
happy.
CGI trailer.
Yeah, they are going.
Oh yeah,
ballistic
it's a
for this
good
game.
trailer. I didn't watch it, but like I know it's a good trailer apparently. So I'm very. I mostly mean more so mean not the like sales. I think the sales are obviously there. The Valhalla was like the fastest Ubisoft game to reach 1 billion in sales. I think they're fine from a sales standpoint with this one. I'm more like the Assassin's Creed fan base. I feel like they've been feeling burnt out, especially after Valhalla. I'm just curious if this is like, oh wow, no, we're back.
I mean, this is what Assassin's Creed fans wanted for a long time. I remember back during the Ezio days, people were asking for a Japan Assassin's Creed.
Dude, it was to the point where Ghost of Tsushima did it first.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah, that was the meme where it's like Ghost beat you guys to it, now you can never do it. It's interesting because I think we could get to a point where this is a critically acclaimed Assassin's Creed for the first time since I guess Odyssey, because Odyssey was the last one that was up for Game of the Year, and that was 7 years ago. Like I could see a situation like that. Again, the sales will always be there. People love Assassin's Creed. So I think there is a world where I'm more interested in, is there like the Outlaws versus Shadows debate of which game's going to have higher reviews, which game's going to sell more, because these are both giant franchises, completely different games, but just RPGs at their core. It's going to be interesting how either Ubisoft, I assume either way, Ubisoft's just going to have 2 back-to-back like amazing selling games, but it's going to be interesting if both, one, none, are like in real Game of the Year conversation when the year ends.
So I feel like Outlaws it has more of a steeper hill to climb because it's more of like a new approach with what they're trying. You know, with Assassin's Creed, this is like the perfected game, quote unquote, that everybody's been wanting. Well, I feel like it's gonna be a lot more easier for Shadows.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for Shadows to kind of come out and be like what it wants to be, and people are gonna be like, "Yo, this is a banger."
Also, I don't
depends
like
on how good it
Shadows. I like AC Red better.
Yeah, I hate that name so much.
Yeah, I don't.
I
I
didn't want to be the guy.
I still don't like it. And I said that before. I was like, I think Red was just better, but it's growing on me a little bit. And then the whole thing in the trailer where they're like, where the light in the shadows or something. There's something. I'm
Yo,
like, oh, like I understand why
made
you're
that
doing
joke.
it, but
I made that joke before the trailer came out, and then they put it in the trailer. That shit was funny.
I'm like, I know, like, I get why you're doing it, and like, it will probably be a moment in the game where like, I'm like, oh yeah, I actually like this title, like, it's making sense. But yeah, but to your point of like the Outlaws is trying new stuff and that, and like Assassin's Creed is just probably doing a lot of the same and like perfecting it. I also think at the same time that might hurt Assassin's Creed compared to it hurting Outlaws. Where Outlaws is probably going to try brand new stuff we've never seen in a Ubisoft game, like the bounty system and just a new approach to the Star Wars universe. I feel like it could get brownie points if those things are really good. Compared to Assassin's Creed could have really good stealth or a really good Assassin's Creed system, and I still feel like there's going to be some people, especially on the critic side, I'm talking mainly from a critical standpoint, where people are like, it's just more Assassin's Creed. It might be really good Assassin's Creed, but it's just more Assassin's Creed compared to they're not going to be able to say that about Star Wars Outlaws. They're going to be like, no, this is brand new Star Wars stuff. They can't say this is more Outlaws when Outlaws is a new thing.
I mean, either way,
Right.
for both Ubisoft and the consumer, if you're big into Star Wars and Assassin's Creed, you're feasting.
You are winning this year.
Yeah, they get in their money, and people are getting the games that they want. So.
If
That
you're
are
a
hopefully
Ubisoft
good.
fan, yeah, if you're a Ubisoft fan, you're very much like happy and satisfied with what their output is looking
I
like
do think
this
it's a
year.
very high likelihood, though, that neither Shadows or Outlaws gets in the Game of the Year conversation.
Oh yeah,
I feel
I
like
agree.
Shadows
Oh
could.
yeah.
Shadows would have to do
also
a
comes
lot
out.
of things right to do that.
Shadow comes out after the date that Keely's gonna put. So unless they get those review
Oh, that's
codes
true.
very
I forgot
early,
about that.
which they might, but it's coming out after that date, so it's gonna be very hard. I feel like for Shadows. Or like in my eyes, I honestly could see Outlaws over Shadows just because the date these games are coming out, and it's gonna be very hard for even if Shadows is really good. Again, you're releasing mid-November. By that time, we already know like what's out. Like we already know what we're voting on.
We're
Hades.
gonna have to wait and see. Yeah, you can't. We'll have a discussion about Hades.
Oh, maybe. Who knows? Maybe because
That
they said
won't
that'd
at
be
the
up to
Game
the
Awards,
end of
but
2024. Maybe it's November 1st.
Well, one thing Ubisoft fans aren't going to be playing, and we can go over this real quick, is the Division Heartland. Shinobi has this Division Heartland, a free-to-play multiplayer action survival spin-off. Oh my god, I hate all of that of the popular series has been canceled. So I put the question: is Ubisoft moving away from mobile slash free-to-play? This is how unmemorable this game was to me. I thought this was the mobile spin-off. Turns out the mobile game already came out. just don't remember this one at all. So, is this just like a well? I don't think people care enough about this to like have it. It's weird that like Division almost feels like it's unutilized by Ubisoft. Where like Division 2, people really like that game. Same
I
with
remember when
Division 1
Division
had a rough
first came
launch,
out.
but like
That was huge.
yeah, Division 1. So it's like interesting that it's like oh, Heartland just canceled. Kind of tells me it's like yeah, we're gonna focus on Division 3 most likely.
no, I love the Division game. So Grand Heartland was never something I was super big into, like looking forward to. I was always more of like, I'll just wait for Division 3. I think this Heartland experiment kind of seems like it was going to be too close in the reign of another Ghost Recon game, like one of the Breakpoints or Wildlands, where I feel like they were probably like, I think they have a Ghost Recon in the works. I'm pretty sure that's been said somewhere. Tom Henderson or someone said it. Like a Ghost Recon is coming. So I'm sure they're like, hey, we're gonna have a true like $70 Ghost Recon game. Heartland is gonna stand no chance compared to like that when this is a free to play Division title. Sure, you'd have your Division fans, but I'm sure most Division fans would be jumping in for a few hours and be like, I just want Division 3.
Yeah, and I think the free to play idea. Forget what's that Ubisoft shooter game? X Defiant.
X Defiant, which is why I disagree with them
X,
going. I don't think they're moving away from free to play because X Defiant's coming out in a week.
what? You're
Yeah,
lying.
no, it's next week.
God, dude, I always prided myself on like knowing game release dates and whatnot. Fucking Ubisoft just throwing that out the window for me, huh?
Did you also know Hellblade 2 comes out next week as well?
I do know that one. I know at this point I know Hellblade 2 comes out next week by the amount of people saying, "Oh my god, Hellblade 2 comes out next week." Next week's gonna be a very interesting week for games. I wanted to discuss that a tiny bit, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Fusion. I don't think they're really moving away from mobile, not mobile, free to play games. Mobile, that's a different discussion. We'll see when the next mobile game gets canceled when we have that. But one thing I do want to talk about is Take Two, who recently just had their financial quarterly reports, or their financial year reports actually. And there was some interesting stuff. I didn't add this. They lost 2.3 billion. I think it was 0.3 billion. $2 billion. And the question I have is how the
2.9.
fuck do you 2.9? Oh my god, that's almost 3 billion. How do you lose 2.9 billion dollars when you own 2K and GTA? It's like, what business decisions are you making at that point?
2.9 billion in a single quarter.
A quarter? I thought it
Yeah,
This was
a
the
it was a
year.
single
quarterly
quarter.
report.
Yeah.
The fuck is this? Strauss Zelnick, God bless his soul. I don't think he's very good at running a company, guys. It is interesting because like there was also another thing in that quarterly report that I found funny where Strauss was just like, "Oh, we never shut down the Roller Drome studio or the Kerbal Space Program 2 studio." He's like trying to say, "Oh, we never did that," which is fucking mind-boggling to me that the CEO is just like trying to gaslight everyone into thinking, "No, we never shut them down." But yeah,
So,
Take
I'm
Two.
sorry if I misheard, but how did they possibly lose this much money when they have GTA?
I'm telling you, that's what I'm wondering. They
Like
have
and they have a NBA 2K game. Like they have games that they had something money laundering. No,
There
something's not
has
right.
to be. I don't know.
We
I've
gotta
never heard of
verify those
anyone losing
shares.
this much amount of money ever.
We-
In a quarter. In a quarter. What are you doing? Oh god. I There was some interesting stuff in the financial report that I did add though. Warrior 64 has this. Grand Theft Auto 6 is releasing in fall of 2025. And the real question here is, does it actually hit that? Or is it gonna get delayed, once again?
That'll probably
I
hit.
think it depends. It really does. Rockstar always delays their games, but like they used up one of their delays because they originally said early 2025. So this is kind of their fall 2025 thing. I want to hope. I could very easily see it slip to 2026. Though.
I think it's 2027. I'll be honest.
Lord
You're
help me.
I
2030.
don't want it to be,
It's gonna be
but
this and Elder Scrolls.
we've had this conversation 100 times where we're like, they always get an official delay, and this one's not an official delay yet. This is just like the back end, them just saying, oh, it's fall 2026. Like, I think
2025.
yeah, sorry. So yeah, not 2027. I meant early 2026 is when this game will
Oh,
come
I
out.
was
That's my bad.
so confused. I was like,
No, no,
Fusion
no,
is a
no. Sorry.
doomer.
No, that was right. No, my bad. Yeah, I got my years mixed up. Yes, I think we get an official delay out of next year, like late next year, and it will be a spring 2026 game.
So
Man, I hope not.
I'm curious about this game because this is the first game, and this is only applies to like two companies. This and Bethesda. This game, GTA 6, Elder Scrolls. Yeah, this and Elder Scrolls. They've been around for so long, and have so much like the expectations are so high for this. I want to know if it's even possible to match the expectations that are set for this game.
Probably, it's a difficult thing. I think if anyone could do it, Rockstar can. But like,
We're gonna
even
see.
then,
Hey,
I'm
this is
like,
the first game between those two that we're gonna see first. So
I mean, we'll see. It really depends. I'm very curious to see how they can make this feel like a very big leap from 5, which it honestly isn't too hard to do. Like 5 is a 360 game, but I'm very curious. I'm excited to see what they can do with this. I'm not letting myself. I'm not letting myself like get like, oh man, I can't believe GTA 6 is coming out next year. I'm just trying not to think about it because I know most likely it's going to get delayed again. No, it depends.
And don't you think about it, there's a million other games coming out next year as well. That
Yeah, 2025 is looking very stacked. If your favorite game is coming out in 2025, maybe hope it's not gonna get Game of the Year. Just like expect it to not win.
Everyone's gonna have their favorite game that wants to be their game of the year next year, and it's just not. It's gonna be like impossible.
Yeah, some guy's gonna go like, "Oh man, I hope Fire Emblem wins Game of the Year." It's like, dog, I'm sorry, I don't know how to tell you. Then another thing that I find really interesting, Summer Games Fest actually tweeted this. 2K plans to reveal the next iteration on one of 2K's biggest and most beloved franchises at Summer Games Fest on Friday, June 7th. And I narrowed down the options, and I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts. I actually asked this on the Discord earlier, but just pure, like right on the podcast. Borderlands, Mafia, Bioshock, or Civilization? What's the franchise?
most likely Borderlands.
God, it's same, and I don't want it to be.
I have evidence to back this up too. It's not just like me just saying Borderlands, but I'm a Borderlands fan. We have they straight up like teased the Borderlands 4 logo like a couple months ago on their social media. I forgot the tweet. It's up there somewhere. But there's a Borderlands 4 logo out there. They've been doing a story recap of all the Borderlands games and there's like including the Telltale series. They're catching everybody up to the series, and then there's the movie, and all this is lining up for release later this year. Because it's been a hot minute since 3 came out.
I'm
Yeah,
still very. I think they want us to believe it's Borderlands, and I'm still thinking Mafia.
I mean, they teased the 4 logo already.
I that's the thing though. It's like Fusion. You brought this article up earlier. It's like they said they're gearing up for a Mafia announcement. We actually talked about that on the
Yeah.
podcast. I'm curious if it. That's the thing. I think it's any 4 of these games. Moon, what about you? What do you think?
I want it to be Bioshock, but I know it's not going to be Bioshock.
If
And
it's
I'm
Bioshock,
sad.
I'd be really happy.
Bioshock. That's a rough one because like that's what was the name of the studio? Cloud Chamber. That's not Ken Levine. That's a whole separate studio within Take Two.
Yeah, some
I'm
other company
curious.
took over the Bioshock IP.
It should be revealed sometime soon though. They started
We said
development.
that 2 years ago. It
Oh
still
my
has nothing.
Okay, well that's 2 years ago. That was revealed in like 2019. They said they were making it, and it's 2024. It's been 5 years. I think at this point they're ready for at least a logo.
It's just a logo.
Yeah, just a
Yeah,
logo.
that's yeah.
I'm busy.
I think. Gosh, because did they say this was a game that's gonna come out soon?
No.
No, they
Oh,
just said
okay.
it's gonna be a
Because for some reason I thought they said it was gonna be fiscal year or whatever. But because yeah, if it's a game, it depends because there's genuinely 3 franchises here that they can consider big, and that all have like that all are around the time that should be revealed. I think Borderlands less than the others. I understand like Borderlands games come out more often, but we've seen a Borderlands before. We've seen the last Bioshock or Mafia. The last Mafia was 2015. It's been 9 years since 3.
That's
So like,
Bioshock was 2013.
yeah, you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
been so long since those franchises were like, I understand that's why most people are just saying, oh, it's another Borderlands, because we get to feel like a Borderlands game every 2 to 3 years. There's a new Borderlands or a Borderlands project. Tiny Tina was 2021. Like that wasn't that long ago. So
Mhm.
I could definitely see why people think it's Borderlands, but that's why I'm more leaning towards like there's been articles about Mafia. We've seen stuff about Mafia. Like it just seems like Mafia's time, maybe.
I would agree with you if there wasn't such a big push from the Borderlands team as of late
I hate
over
that
the last couple of
franchise.
months.
That's
Like
the
they're
funny thing.
really pushing it with the movie, the 4 logo, and just the story. You don't randomly come out of nowhere and be like, okay, we're gonna show you the entire story so far. That doesn't
What,
just happen.
Moon said he wanted to see Bioshock. What do you guys want to see the most of these 4? Because it's a something.
I want to see
There's
Bioshock
some
the
of,
most.
if you guys want me to be real,
I
I
want
want
to
to
see
see Civ.
Mafia.
I want to see Civilization 7,
No, you
man. It's
don't.
been a while since 6, and I'm
Like,
like, yo, what is my boy Sid Meier cooking? You know, that's what I want to know. But no, I'm with you, Future. Also, it's like Mafia is probably my number 2. That's the funny thing about Mafia. This would this be Hangar 13? Because Hangar 13 just did a tennis game that came out last month.
I forget what I wonder if I can look at that Tom Henderson article about Mafia.
Yeah, I don't know if he said anything about developer.
'Cause,
It's very curious. I'm very curious to see. Like, I think any one of these would be exciting, at least for like okay. I know. Here's the thing. As the Civ guy, I know that's going to be the lamest one for most people. That's going to be the most exciting one for me. That's all I'll say. So I'm like, hey, fuck y'all. I'm excited for Civ. I think Bioshock would probably get the biggest pop off, but it's also the least likely of the 4, in my opinion. And then Borderlands, you'll get excitement, but I think right now, Dark will tell you, a lot of Borderlands fans are not like of the, oh
So
man, I love Borderlands right now.
if I'm just talking about purely what I thought was gonna be announced, if we're talking about what situation Borderlands in, if this game does not do well, Borderlands is dead. And that's the
W.
situation we're in. If this game flops, Borderlands as an IP is cooked. That movie is not helping it whatsoever.
That's a side guy. I actually really like Borderlands. Used to. I kind of fell off, but it's a strong IP, you know, for a lot of people. And then Mafia, I think that's an interesting one. It really depends on what they can do with the Mafia IP.
It's
I'm
Hangar
very
13 still, by the way, according to that Tom Anderson article.
That's interesting. I guess they had multiple teams. I can't imagine the tennis game took too much out of them. I don't know. Maybe I'm like being facetious, but yeah, very curious. I'm excited to see what we get on Take Two. It is interesting they said SGF, but yeah, no one get it ahead of time. Anyways, our last corner of news for today is the Activision corner, and coming from the Activision quarter, we have something very interesting, and that's a brand new studio announcement. This comes from Water64. Activision opens new studio Elsewhere Entertainment to develop a new narrative based and genre defining AAA franchise. The studio is based in Warsaw, Poland. The talented team at Elsewhere Entertainment consists of a collection of storytelling experts whose credits include Last of Us, Uncharted, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, Destiny, Tom Clancy's The Division, and Far Cry. Also, by the way, the logo. They have Elsewhere, and then they do this stupid fucking thing that I hate, where they put the definition for Elsewhere right under the
Kind of
logo.
liked it, dude.
I hate that shit, bro. I know what that means. I know what Elsewhere means.
Gives me like Apple TV vibes. I don't know why.
God, I don't like it. It feels so pretentious. But I guess the question I really want to ask is what is going to come out of this new studio? Obviously, it just started. This was something Activision apparently was working on for a while. I think the Poland location is interesting. You got a lot of talent from, especially Polish developers are very talented. Look at CD Projekt Red. You get a lot of talent from those studios, and especially they mentioned a lot of credits from Last of Us, Uncharted. Like these are guys with good resumes. I'm very interested to see like what are we getting out of this.
This feels like I don't know why this feels like this to me. This feels like they're gonna make something very similar to Life is Strange.
Wait, Life is Strange?
Yeah. That's from the
Oh,
name.
so
I
a
feel like
narrative
they're gonna
adventure?
yeah.
Interesting. I feel like I look at these
That's what it
tabs
feels
and
like.
I'm like, this is like an open world RPG or something.
Yeah, they say it's a like triple A game.
Hey, it's genre defining. Can't remember when you announce new
How many?
studios, it's always
Yeah, how
got to be
many?
genre
Yeah, what
defining.
is it?
The genre defining. That's my. It's just like it means nothing at this point. Come on, guys, stop saying
I need to
it.
put something there. That's just the fucking shit that's written into the text box.
There's a lot. Every single game they named off is a shooter. So I'm going to assume it's a shooter of some sort.
Yeah, the famous shooter, The
Genre
Witcher.
defying shooter?
I mean, The Last of Us, you're shooting. Uncharted, you're shooting. The Witcher, no, I guess I forgot. But Cyberpunk, you're shooting. Destiny,
You're
you're
shooting,
shooting. The
Matt.
Division, you're shooting. And Far Cry, you're shooting. So 7 out of those 8 games they
How do you make a
announced
shooter
off all have a
genre
gun.
defying? Find different ways to shoot? Like the fuck?
We're good. I don't know, man. Unless your name is Halo, you are not a genre defining shooter. Okay.
Shout
I'm
out Titanfall,
curious.
bro.
Yeah, Titanfall. Okay, yeah, that's genre defining. I'd say.
Also, Call
I'm
of Duty is technically genre defining, but we're let
Oh,
it
okay.
slide.
That's
That
kind of
was
buddy.
again though. That's like
That
we're
was way
saying
back.
genre defining. Here's the thing. Okay, I was thinking about this. Have first person shooters the way you shoot in them changed since like Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare? Like
I mean, they
2007.
perfected it, dude, in 2007.
They perfected it.
Know.
They did it right, and then everyone else was like, I guess we'll do that. Like I guess you could say Doom 2016 is probably the other one, but still, the way you shoot a gun, it's like yeah, you shoot it.
Maybe it'll
It's
be a third
fire.
person type shooter. I don't know. I don't. Again, the guns might not even be involved. Obviously, talented
Oh,
devs can do whatever, but it just seemed like I get like for one, it's Activision. They already have called like my thing is like they already have so many shooter franchises under Activision, and everything has guns over there. That it would just make sense to be like maybe an open world third person action adventure game where you're shooting things. I don't know.
I mean, for one thing though,
I'll play it.
let's just appreciate that this new studio ain't working on Call of Duty.
True.
Yet.
And that's
Yet.
appreciate that we still get every few weeks, every few months, we're still getting studios like this. We're like, obviously, they're not always going to work out and release banging games, and some of them don't even get a chance to put out their first game. But I still love every time I see an article like this where it's like devs across the industry that were probably laid off or just moved on from their projects get to make their own studio from the ground up, and they get to work on something they wanted to work on.
That's very exciting. I'm interested to see what that can do. And you mentioned Call of Duty. We actually have a story about Call of Duty. This is kind of almost an update. We kind of talked about it week ago with all the Xbox stuff. How Call of Duty might skip Game Pass, whatnot. Like a lot of like discussions happening at Microsoft about it. And we got some interesting news here. Charlie Intel has this Call of Duty 2024 expected to be Black Ops 6. I don't know why they go back to numbering them, but okay. Is reportedly set to launch in late October, presumably October 25th, 2024. Per multiple reports, the game is expected to be available for separate purchase on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, along with day one on Game Pass for Xbox and PC. And then Shinobi, apparently, Charlie Intel, Microsoft intends to reportedly add new tiers and changes to Xbox Game Pass to accommodate adding Call of Duty on the service. And this Shinobi responding on a Reset Era thread that there will be changes, yes. I lot here. We talked a lot about Game Pass last week. We don't want to reiterate a lot of it, but
I'll just go, but I wasn't here last week.
oh yeah, go for it.
So to me personally, this feels like a given. Like I didn't really have a doubt in my mind, but even with all the Xbox tomfoolery going on and all the bullshit that they were doing and Matt Booty lying out his fucking ass, this felt like a given to me. As for the Game Pass, like getting new tiers and being updated and shit, that also felt like a given to me, given the crazy acquisition that they just did. Like I kind of already knew in the back of my head. I remember multiple other people knew this as well. That Game Pass was gonna see an increase. The thing is, Xbox is in so much hot water right now. The idea that is upsetting people. I still think for what you get with Game Pass, even when they do an increase, as long as that increase is not ridiculous, the value is still there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm how do I'm not shocked, but for a very long time, I would say for a while, I was kind of on the I was kind of leaning towards Call of Duty won't be day one on Game Pass, even though they said it would be like 100 times. Like I was always like, it just doesn't make sense to put it in Game Pass. I understand why they're going to do it. Like they're obviously it's Phil Spencer's vision. They're committing to it. At least they're committing to something awesome. So I'm sure it's just going to be very interesting because once you do it now, do you agree with this, Dark? They do it this year. Say it doesn't work, they can't go back on this ever.
No,
They
this is
can't
what
ever be a year where they can go back on this. They
If you
can't
wanna-
like if
yeah,
this
so
fails, you can't go back
me
next
and
year.
Bench were kind of talking about this, because Bench was talking about the idea that Game Pass is kind of falling off. And I mentioned the idea because we had a lot of articles. So this was previous weeks, but they were saying how it's pretty much Microsoft gaming now. Microsoft is kind of like jumping and taking control of the ship. If this is truly what's happening, to me, it looks like that they're just gonna make Game Pass a loss leader. And I mentioned this before. Like we've seen this with other companies like Epic, and they're doing it with Fortnite and a bunch of other things like that, where they get to be like, okay, yeah, we have Call of Duty and all this other crazy shit, Diablo and everything else. We have Game Pass here. That's offering gaming right now, even if they increase it a little bit. Look at all the other shit that we got. That's Microsoft.
Yeah, it's a
It's a whole thing. It's a can of worms.
yeah, it's a. I think this will
I think-
probably be. But
I
this
think it'll
will
be
this will be
okay.
fine. I'm just like it's
Yeah.
100%. They're so committed now. They're 100% in that they can't ever change.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because they always said, hey, all our first party games is going to be day one Game Pass, and this is now technically first party. And I already knew that a price increase was coming. As long as it's not ridiculous, like if you don't see like a $30 increase, they'll be fine.
I'm very curious here, like above. I think my viewpoint is they'll do day one releases, but they'll just like separate that into an extra tier, where it's like, oh, if you pay the ultimate Game
I
Pass,
think Game
whereas
Pass.
like Xbox Game Pass doesn't have the day one
I
releases.
just think that Game Pass Ultimate is just gonna get a little bit of a price increase. That's about it. In terms of new
Oh,
tiers,
yeah.
they're probably just gonna
I mean, they
fix
talked about
whatever.
it.
Because the bottom tiers are really fucking confusing for people. Even to me, like I'm
Mhm.
looking at like what the fuck is going on down there. Like
That
Game
the
Pass
thing with
Ultimate is still gonna be Ultimate, but they're just gonna like increase the price, and they're just gonna make whatever's at the bottom line. They're gonna simplify it most likely.
I say I don't think you can add a new tier and also be like, yeah, by the way, this new tier is the day one Game Pass tier.
Ultimate,
Like
yeah,
say
I'm not gonna do that.
because is Game Pass right now $15? Yeah. So like for Ultimate, I can't imagine a world where they're like, okay, Ultimate's now $20, and that's also what you need to get day one, and your 15's like maybe indies or 6 months or something. Like Game Pass games will be on there 6 months later. Like I just can't imagine that would go over well at all. Like it
What
feels
they're
like
probably gonna
they
do-
would have a better job just increasing the price of everything to $20 or $17 or something compared to
It's
hey, we're
gonna-
going to increase the price and make this day one change.
The way I see them doing it, just for even this like, because they don't want to have people sign up for a new tier. Like that's gonna cause a lot of issues for them, in my opinion, especially given everything that's happened. So I think Ultimate's still gonna be the highest. If it's 15, I don't know what the exact price point is. If it's 15, it's probably gonna be 18 or 20, which is fine in my opinion. We knew it was gonna happen. Whatever.
It's 18 now.
It's 18 right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be 20. Yeah, it's gonna be 20. That's gonna be the new Ultimate.
$18?
Yeah.
Holy
And then
cow.
what they're gonna do is that they're gonna, because they didn't say that they're gonna add new tiers. The stuff was just gonna get changed. They're gonna fix the bottom tiers, but try explaining the bottom tiers to a common person that's like not big into
Game
gaming
Pass
as we are.
Core.
Yeah, that shit's fucking confusing.
Dang, dude, I just pray PC keeps getting the misses. It's still $10 on PC. Like it is still
Oh,
10
wait.
bucks over there.
Okay, it's $16.99, so it's $17.
Oh,
I was $1 off.
That's still
17?
just crazy.
Okay, so it can
man.
be 1920. That's the.
I think it's gonna be $20. They're gonna increase it a lot. I agree. If you want the day one releases, you're gonna get Ultimate. That's kind of my assumption.
And Bench brought up a point inside the server. He's like, "Oh, people are not gonna. If you only hear about first party, you're not. It's not worth it." I'm like, Game Pass offers so much more than just first party games. But
Yeah,
that's why
buddy,
people
they
say it's
just
the
added.
value that you get from it. So, yeah.
What did they just added something silly. I forget. I was gonna make a joke about it, but never.
Give me that indies tier.
You also get
Give me,
EA
give me an
Play
indie
inside of it
tier.
too, which is like really good.
Man, indie, dude, an indies tier, dude, I would sign up for that. It's like $3 a month. Oh yeah.
It's just like I'll throw pennies at the indies. That's funny.
Wait, one last question. This Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Can I be excited for it?
It's the goat.
Am I allowed?
Be
I'm
prepared. It's
just
the goat.
This
Was
is the return of
Cold War-
turn-based zombies.
okay. Was Cold War Fusion? Would you say Cold War is on the level of the best Call of Duties? Because that's the last Treyarch one.
It's the best Call of Duty since 2016.
It's the best Call of Duty of the modern era.
Of the modern.
That stops after Black Ops 3.
Yeah, I would say it's the best Call of Duty since Black Ops 3, which is also Treyarch. So like they keep doing it.
They cooked with Black Ops 3.
Oh, Black Ops 3? You guys
Yeah.
are fans of that one. I forgot.
Which was 2015, but yeah.
Black Ops 2. They're doing like a Black Ops 2 sequel next year.
Yeah.
That's
know how that
Treyarch as
works.
well. Where I'm like 2 years in a row. That's man.
That's what that's I guess how it
Me
goes.
and Fusion were talking about this too. I'm kind of like burnt out on Modern Warfare because they're doing it back to back. You guys are doing this for Black Ops now.
It's been 3 Modern Warfare games in 4 years.
Yeah, like bro, like I like the characters, but man,
I'm
that
so
Modern Warfare
over
has
it. I'm like,
fake-
bro, and they're not good. Stop giving me mid games.
Yeah,
Whoa. Modern Warfare 2019.
for me
Okay.
personally, I'm really big
Love it.
into the side modes. I like Extinction. I like zombies especially. If they nail that, I'm happy as can be.
I
That's
think
not a fun campaign.
I think you can be excited because 3 reasons. First Call of Duty ever with 4 years of dev time. That could mean something. It could mean nothing. We'll find out what the extra year looks like. It's a Treyarch title. Like, come on, man. They just do it. They do it right every single time. I don't think they've ever had a miss. Black Ops 4, not my favorite, but I still don't think it's a miss. Also,
Or was the beginning of the downfall.
I was gonna say like turn-based zombies, but I don't think you care about zombies. I don't care about zombies that much, but at least it's kind of cool.
Look, it's gonna be day one Game Pass. Everyone here got Game Pass, right? Or
I mean, yeah, you don't even have to. You technically don't
Nah,
have to buy
taking-
this game.
I'm taking the
I'm not
whole
playing
slice of
zombies,
gaming core
Dark.
crew. We're doing turn-based zombies. We're doing the Easter.
Every time I try
I'm
to
gonna
play
show you the
zombies-
joys of zombies. You need because you don't have a good crew. I will carry you guys. I
Oh,
will show you the.
You said your friends are bad, bro.
Yeah.
Dude.
Well, maybe that's true because I played solo. So maybe that's why
I'm gonna
didn't
show
like
you
zombies.
how much fun you can have in zombies. Extinction is
I-
even more fun. But that's a different.
I
We'll
want
get
to
into
have
that
fun
later.
with zombies. I want to have fun.
And not only that, we can
It's
do this
fun.
earlier because they're gonna have the backwards compatibility drop.
Yeah, that's what
You
you
know what I mean?
said. They've been saying that
For
for 7
real.
years.
I have kept asking. I held off on Black Ops 2 buying that because I was told by a certain person here to wait for Game Pass drop. I'm
It's
still
gonna
waiting.
it's gonna be at the E3 showcase. If it's not here, then I
God.
don't know what the fuck you're doing.
He said,
If it's not there, selling my Xbox.
it's always coming with it, boss. It's always coming soon with Dark. You know, he fits right in with the Xbox marketing team. That's all I'm saying.
No, at first I thought it was gonna be with the close of the acquisition, like they did with Bethesda, but then they explained, oh, it's because fucking they were too busy dealing with the
Yeah, like
finalization of the deal. And then after
we don't
that, I
have
was
Sorry,
enough
like,
brother,
people.
we're on
That's why we
Black
let them
Ops.
all go.
I just want Black Ops 2, man. That's all I want. I don't even want this year's Call of Duty. Just give me Black Ops 2 again. Very curious. We'll see what we can do with Call of Duty this year. We're probably gonna be talking about it at the Xbox showcase. But one more thing we need to talk about that I forgot to put on the doc, but I remembered: NCAA football 25 is
Yep.
coming out, or actually now it's called EA Sports College Football 25.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's coming out this year. Is it this year?
Yeah, July 19th.
July 19th. I'm so prepared. I'm sorry. Fusion, I want you to talk to me all about it. Tell me how excited you were after that trailer. Because I'll be honest, I watched the trailer and like I'm not a football guy, but like I watched it, I'm like, this is a lot of energy. This is exciting. Like if I was a fan of football, like I'd be losing it. This looks fun as hell.
Yeah, so for one, I was a little salty yesterday because there was supposed to be yesterday. They had a countdown for a while that like May 17th. I don't know, May 16th because technically it's not. Never mind. Like May 16th, they were gonna show the game. They're like, oh, we're gonna show the game. It ended up just being them revealing covers that were already leaked an entire week beforehand. So like every moment, like the momentum was dead. It was almost like the opposite of the GTA trailer. Remember the GTA trailer leaked? The GTA trailer still came out and everyone was insane because the GTA, but it was like, imagine if the GTA cover just leaked. You know what I mean? Like if the countdown was for the GTA cover and it leaked, people would be like, well, that's kind of like annoying. So yesterday they were like, we're going to show you just the covers apparently. And then after they showed the covers, they were like, you'll also get your trailer tomorrow. So like it kind of like halted my momentum for a day. Like I was pretty salty for like 24 hours. And then I woke up today and I was like, okay, the trailer is actually about to drop. And it was electric. It was the first trailer for an NCAA game in 11 years. They showed exactly what I wanted as a football fan, as Bob, me and him have talked about all day, where they just show the traditions of the college football games and just all the different, it just all looks so good. It looks better than I could have ever imagined from being a fan of this franchise my entire life and it being taken away from me for almost half of it. You know what I mean? Like I haven't had the game in 11 years, and it's just insane to me to think that I never thought we were going to get the game again. And even when they announced it in like 2019 that the game was going to come back at some point, I even still was like, I doubt it. Like they'll figure out issues, and even through all these saying it's going to come back, they've always still been battling legal issues in the back, and it's never felt real until today, where I was like, this game is truly going to come out, and it's 2 months away, and like I'm gonna get my hands on it. We still need gameplay. It was one of those trailers that like every sports game has, where like 2 or 3 months before the game comes out, all they do is show you like a 3-minute trailer of just like basically the new graphics and some of the new like jerseys and stuff. But I still need like raw gameplay to put full thoughts on it. But as just a college football fan, I'm so excited to finally have anything. Like any bit of news they can give me, I eat it up every time.
It looks like genuinely, again, not in the scene, but like even on the outside. Like I've watched Madden trailers at like EA press conferences before, and they never looked exciting. They never looked like, oh man, this is like a blast. This genuinely was electrifying energy. Like, oh my god, like I want to play this. Like, what am I gonna do? Like I love the traditions that they showed of like petting the like crocodile, or like they bring out the fucking longhorn.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like it seems like they genuinely like are fans of college football, at least just from the outside looking in. Would you say that? Like they are fans of college football. These are guys that watch the games, they
Yeah,
have a lot of passion.
I can feel the passion behind this dev team where a lot of them are like it's really cool to see because a lot of these devs were there for the original NCAA games and they went decade. Like they went a decade themselves without being able to make these games. Like they had to move to Madden and they had to move to other projects. And it's really cool to be like, for them to come back into the light and be like, hey, we've been working on this franchise that we love so much, and now they're like putting it out there. Like it's cool. It's so cool to go on Twitter and see like the devs tweet out like this is gonna be big. Like we're so excited to finally show you guys this. We've been working on it for so long. Like it's cool to see the passion behind the team over there at EA. Where Madden, it's you get that game every year, so like the Madden team just feels so like lack of life. Like they're just putting out the same game basically every single year, and like they never went through a drought of Madden. We've never went 10+ years of never having a Madden game. So it's a different energy from the EA college football team than just the Madden team.
Yeah. No, I can definitely feel it. You think this is gonna be like, because like what's the issues with Madden? What is it? It's buggy. Is it issues with roster? Like, what's the issues of Madden, and how can they be rectified with this game?
Um, and I would say the biggest issue with Madden is it's never as polished as it should be 100%. It's not as bad as some other sports games I've played, like 2K has it bad a lot, but like it definitely could still use polish, but there's never enough differences between Madden games. And I understand it's a football game. You can't change completely everything, but Madden has been a franchise, truthfully, that they are missing certain aspects and game modes and features that Madden's 10 years ago had. That at one point EA took out, and they just are never. They're either too lazy. I don't know the issue. They just haven't ever put them back in their video game. And it's just insane as a Madden fan to be like, hey, we can go back to Madden 2012 and I can play with features that a Madden from 2023 doesn't have. Like, that's insane as a fan that you ask us every year to spend $70. Because at this point, Madden doesn't change enough every year where it just feels like every year you're spending $70 to get new rosters. You're just getting the new rookies every single year is why you're buying into Madden. And that gets kind of obnoxious after a while where like I defended Madden for the longest time because I'm like, again, it's a football sports game that can only do so much. But when years after years, like they just finally got crossplay into this game, and it didn't even launch at the beginning of the year. It came 6 months into this year's Madden. I'm like, how is that something where you wait so long where every other sports game in the world has crossplay? Like, why is this something that you as a Madden dev just can't figure out? Like other EA games had it. FIFA, an EA game had the crossplay. Why didn't Madden have the crossplay?
I think with this game, I think really a lot of it comes down to dev time because they are crunching Madden games once a year, and I think it's the same studio each time. Like it's the same studio. So like you get a 1-year development time for each Madden game. Eventually, they're like, well, we need to increase the graphics, but we don't have enough budget. We have to remove certain modes. It's bullshit. It shouldn't be that way. But I guess that's just how EA thinks of it. It's like, oh, we'll go ahead and do that. We need to get it out. With this game, like you said, this has been cooking for a long time. I think the increased development time is going to give them the resources and the ability to actually make it a banger.
Yeah, and back, like I said, I've been a decent Madden apologist, but the last 2 years I haven't bought Madden, and I love Madden. I haven't bought them, and it's the point of I've just been so over just spending the money and getting a mediocre product. But I understand the point where, like you said, they come out every year, and the marketing comes out it's almost like you release a game, and 9 months later you already have to show your next game. So within 9 months, you already have to show them gameplay and show them a product to your fans. That's a quick turnaround. It's like Call of Duty, except Madden's probably a way smaller team. And also, it'll be interesting. The NFL itself has a huge hand in the Madden games where they don't allow certain things. You can't have, back in the old days, if you had really bad injuries in Madden, the ambulance could come out on the field in a Madden game. The NFL does not allow that anymore in the Madden game. They say it makes the game look too violent, and they don't want that in their video games. Same with crowds. In a Madden game, your full stadium always has to be fully crowded. It has to be fully packed because the NFL doesn't want to look like there's not fans watching an NFL game. Compared to the NCAA, I think are going to be way more hands-off, which is why you're able to have all these traditions, and you're going to have different crowds. Like an Ohio State-Michigan game, which is a very large game, will probably have a packed stadium compared to smaller teams. Like they're going to have way more leeway, I think, on the college football side when they don't have a billion-dollar company behind them that's like forcing them to make certain decisions.
One last thing. I saw this on Twitter. Does mascot mode come back?
I hope so, but I haven't said anything yet. I love mascot mode, but again, I have to get my expectations in check a little bit because the first title of them, and I know EA, and I know their wording. I've seen it every year where they're like, it won't be in this year, it will be in next year. I hear that every year with different like modes and game mode, and it usually does happen. It is always the next year. They don't lie about it. So that seems to me like a thing where they'll be like, we couldn't make it this year, but we promise it will be in the game next year.
Yeah, do you think this is gonna go back to annual then?
Oh yeah, this will be an upgrade. But the one gigantic win of college football games, you can buy one game, you can play that game for the next 10 years. You don't need updated rosters like you do in Madden because you can go in because there's 134 college teams, there's 32 NFL teams. The amount of like differences where you can play so many different teams and never have the same experience. In Madden, you only have such limited amount of player pool that you always have to buy the new one because you're gonna get so bored. Compared to a college football game, you could genuinely play a college football game for probably 5 years before you wanted to upgrade to the next one.
Okay, one actual last question. Do you think you'll be fighting for this for Game of the Year? Like
No,
Bob will?
no, absolutely not.
No. Okay. I'm
No,
just
no.
curious.
I
Bob,
hope
no.
I love this game. I will adore it. I don't put, again, personal preference. I have never put a multiplayer game on any Game of the Year list or any of that. I just feel like they are its different genre to me.
That's crazy. All right. Well, very excited for you. I'm very excited for Bob. Let's hope that they can nail it. Speaking of nailing things,
Hmm?
I just wanted to say, speaking of nailing things,
You
there's no
called?
really segue into that. I no reviews of the week. I did want to get a final check. I'm sorry, Fusion. I know you talked a lot in a row. You're actually gonna be talking again with what we've been playing. But Hellblade 2 is next week. Have you been feeling hyped for it? Are you like, oh man, I can't wait to play this game?
Man, I will say again, Hades 2 has kind of taken over my life, so it's hindering my hype factor for other stuff. But the I'm at like my last days basically with Hades 2 here, where I'm like just on my last few stuff where I don't feel like I have to grind as much anymore. That the closer we get to Hellblade, the more excited I am getting because it's going to be a game I think it's going to be a visual masterpiece. It's not going to be very long, and I need 2024 games on my slate because I have one and it's Rebirth. So like I need to
Bump
start
those
building
numbers up.
on my resume. Yeah, I need to start doing that. And it's like Hellblade is that game where it's like I said it months ago. I don't think it will be my game of the year. I don't think maybe it will be game of the year material if the critics come out and like it gets 90 or something. I don't know. It's on my fantasy league team. So let's dial in. Let's get some high 80s here, critics. Let's be a good game.
96.
But I said like before a few months ago when we were doing like our most anticipated. If they do something really special with the story, I could see this game being really special to me. So, but my hype, I feel like my hype levels are low because the talk around the game it hasn't been marketed. It feels like every time I tune into something about Hellblade, it's negative for some reason. Like there's always something negative. Either it's the time of the game, or no marketing, or it's just not a big budget title. Like it just feel, or like people are scared from Ninja Theory as a publisher. Like I wish there was more like excitement. I wish I could be more excited about Hellblade 2 than I currently am feeling because I genuinely can't wait Tuesday to jump in and play it. But there's like there's an outside noise that's hindering me from being like able to fully get excited.
Man, Tuesday's such a weird day to release games in America.
Well, perhaps.
It's a bit of an inside baseball joke. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very interested to see what those critics say. We're getting the review embargo's day of, right?
Yeah, day of, very like an hour before the game comes out or something.
God, they did that with Redfall. Great. Okay, I'm not gonna say it's like Redfall. Before anyone like takes that out of context, it's just interesting. It's like, man, same exact review embargo as Redfall is weird.
Yeah, it's very again. There's just a lot. I'm not one that's always like oh, embargo. If your embargo is that close to your date, you must not be confident. Like Bench says that a lot. I'm not someone like that where it's like, no. Like plenty of games have released reviews the day of and have amazing reviews. Does it show more confidence when you can say 2 weeks ahead of time? Yes. But I don't think it shows a lack of confidence when you have something like this. This game's just very story intensive and very story heavy, and there's probably going to be minor spoilers in those reviews. And I'm sure Ninja Theory is like, we want to have none of that out. Like we just want the fans to be able to jump in with like just fresh.
Very interested. Also, for anyone wondering, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. God, guys, I cannot fucking wait. That's all I'm gonna say about it. It's gonna be fucking peak. I'm ready to go back. That's all I want. I'm ready to go back to Paper Mario. But I don't have time for that. I want to talk about what we're actually playing right now at this very moment. Dark, you've been checking out a little Ghost of Tsushima. That PC port came out. I wanted to hear some thoughts on that.
So the one thing I want to give praise to for the game, when I mean the game, just like the devs themselves, the amount of accessibility and customization options they give you for the PC port is amazing. I love when I get to tweak the game to holy hell to however the fuck I want to play it. But yeah, this is my first time playing Ghost. And yeah, like I know you guys were memeing about it earlier. It's very much true. This the Japanese Assassin's Creed that I've always wanted.
Oh yeah.
I really like the story. The story, I like seeing how. I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but I like seeing how Jin struggles with what he has to do within the game. And if you play the game, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You can see how he struggles and how he deals with it. But this is a very beautiful looking game. And I love the fact that the game doesn't. Well, it has a HUD, but it's so minimalistic that it just lets you take everything in. Like, I'm very rarely opening the map. And I'm kind of just going where the fuck wherever the wind takes me, quite literally, I'm going. I'm just,
Yeah, literally.
I'm just going.
Best
It's a good experience.
Run well.
I want to say 6 to 7 hours. Yeah, I'm playing on the Steam Deck and it runs incredibly well. I'm running at a medium settings, and there's no issues whatsoever.
Run it on high. Let's see it.
I mean, I
You
could if
wanna
I
turn
wanted
It
to.
just blows up.
It's like a
Steam Deck
baked
wouldn't blow
potato.
up, but yeah, it'll get pretty fucking hot.
I'm interested. I'm very excited for you. That was my game of the year in 2020. Still a game I think about a lot. Never played the DLC, but I'll definitely go back for that. Ghost of Tsushima 2, which I assume that's probably gonna be PS5, and then a year or two later we get the PC port for that. It's interesting that this PC port took so long in comparison. I think it very much came from Sucker Punch wanting to do it internally for the most part, and it seems to have worked out for them. I'm very happy about that. Love Sucker Punch. I cannot wait to see what they are cooking next. But I want to talk about Supergiant, and specifically Hades 2. We're not going to go as long as we did last time,
The
but
super
all
goats,
of
you
us.
mean?
Super goats, yeah, sure for you. But
Me?
this, what I just said, what I said for you. You love Hades, Supergiant.
Yeah, something like you just sound like you're gonna go into a super massive rant there.
I
So.
like Supermassive. Bastion is awesome. Hades is
No,
awesome.
you said super massive. I meant I
Oh,
don't say super massive, super giant. I'm
did I
saying I
say
thought you were
massive?
gonna yes.
Yeah, like mere mention
Listen,
of it got him riled up.
one of them has to rename themselves. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the one that is not great.
Super massive, you do it. But no, super giant. We're not gonna go as long as we did last time, like I said, but all of us have been playing it. Even I have. Moon, Dark, Fusion. Listen, just updated thoughts. I'll start with my thoughts because I just started playing it a few days ago. It's awesome. From a gameplay standpoint, it is pretty much the sequel to Hades. It is everything that Hades did, but better. Everything feels a lot cleaner. I think though some of the weapons kind of suck. I don't like the torches, but the daggers are awesome.
Preach.
Love those daggers. All I use is those daggers. The axe was a ton of fun when I tried it out, but like, I'm I'm a fool when it comes to weapons in games. You know, I got the one I like. I'm sticking with the one I like. So it's very much the daggers is my thing. I think a lot of the new gods, new abilities are very interesting. But yeah, for the most part, this is very much Hades one again, and I love it. I think this is surprising that it's an early access game. It feels complete in a lot of ways. So I'm very interested to see how they can improve upon it. A lot of people who played Hades 1 early access are saying like, "Oh, Hades 1 improved a lot from its early access." There's a lot of unfinished stuff. Like a lot of characters don't have their models yet, so I'm interested again, like to see where it can go from there. But yeah, from everything they've been doing, very into it, loving it.
This game reaches a level of satisfaction that very few. This is like the video game equivalent of crack cocaine, and there's very few games that reach this level. Like there's Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, there's Ninja Gaiden when it hits those levels, and like Devil May Cry, which hits those levels of just like pure euphoria as you're in, like you get so like this game will consume your fucking soul. Like I somehow with working on top of everything else, I had like 30 hours into the game in less than a week. This game's a problem.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's definitely very addicting.
It's a real good time. Yeah, I talked about it for like 7 years last week, so I'm not gonna go into big details, but like I think last week I was 12 hours in. This week I'm over 30, so a lot more hours was put into it this last week just to prove that whole addicting part. Um, yeah, it's just I'm just still marveled at the fact that this game is not even I don't think even close to being done is a right term, but there's still a lot missing, and I've been like looking at YouTube videos and like Reddit and Supergiant stuff. They still have a lot of plans for this game, and it's the fact that I'm 30 hours in and I'm still getting certain things that I'm just like are brand new to me. I'm still getting experiences that are brand new where I'm like, it seems astronomically larger than the first Hades in almost every way, and it just feels insane that this is an early access title. Like we say it over and over again. It is very rare that you can say like this feels like a full-fledged game as an early access title. Like I don't know many off the top of my head I could ever say that about. That's how good this game is in early access, and I cannot wait to just like see the updates down the line, like see the next like content drops. Like I feel like the content drops are going to be like genuine like big days on the internet. Like when's the last time an early access game has happened where when I'm sure when they ever add like a new boss or whatever they're gonna add into this game, those days are gonna be like you're gonna see hundreds of thousands of players on Steam that day loading back up Hades 2. Like I feel like it has that much like juice to it where it's like it's almost gonna feel like a DLC drop or an expansion drop to like a finished game, but this is all just early access stuff. Like I can't wait. I can't imagine 1.0 in 8 to 10 months, hopefully, and like the console release and just everything else. How good this game's going to be. How I haven't ran into one bug. I know you guys have run into a few bugs. I haven't ran into a single one. I'm like that just seems insane from an early access
Yeah,
perspective.
and my bug wasn't even like it was just a boon was showing up when it wasn't supposed
Yeah,
to.
I don't think you're supposed to have that boon
Yeah,
there.
like there's
Yeah,
nothing. Okay,
so
that's a lie. I did run into one bug, but that's kind of spoiler, so I'm not going to talk about it. But like, there's nothing from a gameplay perspective where you're like, I'm not trying to hate on another Crab's Treasure. There's nothing wrong with that game. But that game's a full release product that I played a week or so before Hades. I'm like, I ran into 100 bugs, not a literal 100, but a lot of issues in that game from a full scale. This game is out. Like this is an early access. This is out standpoint. Where I'm playing a full-fledged early access game in Hades 2, and I'm running into zero issues. Like it's almost flawless from the performance side, which seems just so insane to me. So I'm just so excited for Supergiant as a studio where it's like Hades was their moment where more eyes were on them. I think Hades 2 has even made that an even larger point. I really hope that Hades 2 is a game that lasts like multiple years and they have plans down the line for it. And I don't know. I just hope they keep at it. I hope the momentum stays good for them, and I hope they just continue to see success because I just love them as a studio and as people and as game developers.
as people, you know them.
I mean, I've seen YouTube videos of them. I know them enough, bro. There's
Basically,
never been a super giant controversy article. That's all I'm saying.
that's some parasocialism right there. Goddamn.
The most enjoyable thing that's been happening for me personally with the game as of late is just because I was the farthest ahead of everyone with the early access. It was just seeing everyone in our server's reactions to reaching certain parts of the game or figuring like finally beating a boss. I don't know. That's very rare to have moments like that.
I will say it was funny. The way that I was sold on this game, it's gonna make me sound like such an a narcissist, I guess. I don't know. Not a
Yeah,
narcissist,
leads
but like
mentality.
no, literally, it was Bob bragging about. I was like, oh man, we're gonna be able to brag about. In the future, you were saying this too about beating the final boss pre-patch, and it's like, ooh, it felt real
He's
good to
definitely
beat.
getting nerfed.
It felt good to beat pre-patch Radon, you know. So I'm like, yo,
Alright,
let me jump
speaking
in.
of
I gotta.
the final boss, have you
That
beat him yet?
he's a bitch, by the way. Fuck
Oh,
that guy.
you haven't beat him yet,
Okay,
huh?
so here's my problem: is that I always get there. I already use up a Death Defiance, and I'm like, well, I can't do this
Yeah,
without a
you
Death
can't.
Defiance.
Yeah, you have to. You have to get there.
Yeah, it
with
sounds like a skill
all of
issue.
them.
I mean,
You
it
have
is.
to
You
get there
can
with
beat
all
him
of them.
without the defiance, but
No, you can, but like that's just I'm saying. Like he's
you're
not that
running
bad.
out of time. He's
I
gonna get patched. I'm telling you.
no, my problem. Here's the thing. He's easy. I can beat him. It's just the problem is that he's pulling
You're
out.
gaslighting yourself.
No,
He's-
no.
he's-
The problem is I'm fighting him. It's like, well, this is an intense 1v1, and then he's like, "Yo, goons, deal with this motherfucker." It's like, what?
I did.
You
Oh,
call
he
in the
does.
cavalry?
He calls
Yeah,
the Avengers force on you.
it's
That's
some
actually not my
bullshit.
problem with that fight. My problem with the fight is just his damage output.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
He
it's
does hit
really
like a
stupid.
truck. He hits insanely hard compared to
But
every single other enemy.
the one that hurts me the worst is his just big swipe of his blade. That hits me for like 33 every single time, and
Wait.
I'm dead in 3 hits.
Well, what is the farthest you've gotten into the fight?
Don't tell me there's a second phase.
There is. There is.
Like a whole new health bar second
Yes,
phase?
there's
Yeah.
a whole new health bar.
Alright. Alright. How about installing this one?
There's a whole new health bar, buddy.
Why is there a whole? Oh man,
So something. So I kind
you
of.
guys.
I wasn't.
I'm better at FromSoft games than you guys. Just
Alright,
want to point that out.
Can you,
So I'm
can
not
you,
bad at
mu-
this.
can you like
What was the other
unmute
one,
yourself
bro?
for a little bit so I can mention this real quick for everybody else? Because that
Yeah,
when you made the second phase-
I think Moon and Wolf should definitely.
the
If you're about
moon
to say
make it
something.
to the second phase.
No,
Oh, for spoilers.
as far
Oh,
as I know.
you can go ahead.
Okay, can you guys deafen for like 30 seconds?
I don't care about spoilers. You can go ahead.
The moon do it. Just making
Oh,
sure.
he's committed to it, I guess.
Yeah. So he has an insta kill attack.
Yeah, he does.
The second hit.
I
I
heard
thought
about that.
So I thought that people were just saying that because they got killed with low health. No, it is a full blown insta kill attack.
Yeah, no matter what
with
you're
full
at.
health, that shit's insane. But yeah, that was it.
It
I think I
will,
saw-
and he does it. It's not just once. That's
He did
the.
it like 4 times.
I think I saw
Yeah.
a clip of someone getting hit by it, and what
It's
was
easy to
this?
dodge, but like that shit's fucking nuts.
No, they got hit by it and their game crashed.
Oh my! Yeah, I saw a video where like it always happens in games the second phases, but like this dude was like I think it was a stream. He was streaming for like 15 hours, and he finally beat the first phase, and he thought he won. He was like had a victory, and it was like just a second health bar. It was just so like disgustingly
Yeah, well,
depressing to just see the second
Thank you
health
for
bar.
letting. Dude, it's like just have the full health bar at the moment, man. I'm already having trouble.
But yeah, there is a second part.
I gotta win pre-patch for the fucking
Yo, if you think the
clout.
goons in the first part are bad with easy attack,
He's got more goons.
A lot.
the worst
they-
type of goons too.
Here's the
I mean-
problem. Okay, you know what my issue is? I'll have a good run and then that bitch Hestia appears. I don't want your shit, Hestia. Your shit sucks. That bitch Apollo, fucking dumb piece of shit. Bro, give me Zeus. Zeus
Whoa,
is
whoa,
better.
Hestia! There's no Hestia hate around here.
Okay. I got a
Hestia's
question.
trash.
I got a
Her-
question.
Hestia is better than
Yes.
Apollo, at least.
What is your
Hes-
guys' favorite god? You can only pick
Demeter.
I
one.
get
Mine is
my
Demeter.
life. My life is complete. Like my heart is complete whenever I see my boy. Oh god, wheelchair guy. Yeah, wheelchair guy.
Hephaestus.
Yeah.
Hephaestus. My heart, because he has this shit where it's a special, and it's like, oh, sometimes the special does 400 fucking damage. I'm like, dude, I win. I win. Like I
Just
win.
the one that
game when I get-
explodes.
Yeah, and
the
it's like when I
volcanic
get
strike,
Hephaestus-
Yeah.
or anvil strike
Like
from
it-
him is also really good.
when I get Hephaestus and Zeus, and then my girl Artemis appears, and I'm like, I win. I beat the game.
Who's
And
the
then-
fire one?
Hephaestus.
Hestia.
Hestia.
Oh,
Hestia
sorry.
and
Yeah,
Demeter.
Hestia.
If you get the two of them together, that is the most insane combo because they work so well together.
Here's my problem with Hestia, is that so much of her shit is your casts do more damage. I don't fucking use casts. What, you think this is a mage build, buddy? I'm fucking slashing their asses with my knives.
You know,
I
the
have
knife-
to cast. I cast for stunning everyone in a place so I can attack them.
So the funny thing is,
I
it's
keep
funny they said
forgetting I
that.
have a
One of the
cast, that's
most
the problem.
insane builds that I've seen for the knives is with the cast.
I refuse to use the cast. That's the problem.
You have
It's
to
less that
adapt,
I
bro.
refuse. I keep forgetting I have it.
Wait, if you don't use the cast, you get fucked up in the beginning because
Yeah.
they.
Well, that's
Cast
how
is super
he's
important.
losing his Death Defiances. That's why.
No, I don't. Here's the thing. I get into the fight with Death Defiance.
Oh.
You know what? You want to know something?
There's just a skill issue.
Cerberus,
there.
the third boss, he's my bitch now. I fucking treat that
Wait,
boss.
that boss
like
is
my
really
bitch.
easy.
Yeah,
I melt
I
that
just
boss.
backstab. If I have backstab, I win the fight. But then these goofballs and the fucking the bags of money start appearing in the last world, and they go brrrr with their
Yeah,
stupid ass
the
lasers.
bags of money are my mortal enemy.
The gauntlet
it's like-
to actually get to the last boss, like that, those 5 rooms are brutal sometimes. Where you're like, dude, like yeah.
I think the worst enemy, and I think Fusion might agree with me, is the hourglass.
Oh my god,
Whoever
it's
made
such
that-
a
That's the money bags for me.
My least favorite
No,
enemy
you know-
is the rat mage dude that like summons the little stupid things that crawl on the ground. Oh, I can't stand it.
But I just
dude,
use,
it's
so here's the thing: if you get Demeter, and you upgrade Demeter, she is insane. She freezes everything. It's GG. You put a cast out and you're done. You're cooked.
Oh yeah,
already.
a freezing cast is like the most broken thing in the game.
That's my thing. It's like I'll have a fire ass run, and then I just see ugly ass Apollo look me in the eyes, and I'm like, it's over. I might. And here's okay. Here's this
I
is
mean,
actually one of the-
Apollo's. It's not that.
This is
bad.
why the game. This is why the game's pissing me off. I started a run and I see Apollo's bitch ass, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna give up. I already know this one's not gonna go
What's
anywhere.
funny is
know
like
what?
I almost never get Apollo. Like I rarely
Yeah, I
get
get
him.
Apollo.
What's your guys'
I-
worst? Okay. What's the
Here's the
what's
thing.
the one guy that you hate the least now? Like hate the most. I mean,
Hate the most Apollo because he's useless.
I can't remember what Apollo gives because I get him like almost never. I don't even know what Apollo gives.
Here's my thing. I get Apollo at the start of the run, and I'm like, let me give up. Okay, I'm gonna give up so I can reset. I did that 4 times in a row, and I kept getting Apollo every time. So I'm thinking
Oh, wait.
they
are you pressing the
randomized
reset button?
I'm pressing the give up button when I see
Yeah.
Apollo.
So
I
what
press
that does is that the runs are predetermined as soon as you enter them. When you press the give up, you're just restarting the run.
It's genuinely the worst game ever made. What the fuck? Let me reset my run.
Do you guys? I do not like the goddess that gives you the hex. I don't. I hate her.
Oh, so Asalini, yeah. I never use Hex.
I never use the hex.
Wait, which one's Hex?
Right
Wait, what do you
trigger.
mean the god?
It's the one that you were asking where you're like, is there a bar to show you like how many charges or whatever?
Oh my god,
The moon.
Celine?
Yeah, the
Dude,
moon.
I
wish
never
they would
use it.
just remove her from the game. She's useless.
I
I
agree.
disagree.
Bop is
Only
Bop like
because I've had really good run. If you could get a really good run where you also have, she gives you one where you can use it basically as a health potion, where she will give you like it starts off as 25
I'm
days.
not sure if
You
it's
can
a
upgrade that
bug
to
or
like
not.
50, and it's great.
Yeah, but the
That's
thing is,
good.
I'm not sure if it's a bug or not because I can't get that to activate. Like I got that one
You
a couple
have to
times. I'm like,
use magic.
Yeah, you have to
But
use
the
magic.
yeah, but I
It's-
do.
I
Use,
don't wanna
I
use
mainly use the Umbral Flames. I'm using magic 24/7.
I don't know.
I just-
know. Maybe it is a bug
I
for you.
just wish like I could just run the pure strength build. I don't want to think about magic. Okay, I don't want to think about casts.
If you
Well,
want to
you
do
need
pure
that. You need
strength,
the axe,
you
bro.
need
Because that's
the
what I
axe.
do.
You
Oh
have
my
to learn
God.
to cast. Cast is like so important.
I'm like
My man running the Godfrey build.
I've had 4 successful runs against that final boss now, and they've all been with the axe. So
Here's the thing. I tried.
I can't use the axe; it's too slow
You
for
can
me.
so
My
another
only thing is the slam. It's just the slam is so slow.
you can
Well,
zone
it's
out the
very
final
slow.
boss pretty well, but then there's that point in the final boss fight where he just like increases his speed dramatically.
He just
Like,
runs at you.
he gets pretty aggressive when you start doing that. That's
the
how I
thing,
beat
if
him
I-
first.
If I get here, I had such a god run, but the problem is I went on the surface, so it didn't even matter. I had such a broken build where I had Zeus, Aphrodite, Artemis, and the other one, Hephaestus, and I had
Oh, that's
all
my
their
other one
broken
I
ass
don't like. I
builds.
don't like anything Aphrodite gives.
Dude,
I love
is
Aphrodite. She's my
crazy
favorite.
shit. She has some insane shit if you get like the good shit from Aphrodite. I had the thing where it's like inflict weak and do extra damage to weak foes, all that. I had that all set up, but it was on the surface, so it's not like it mattered. So it's like I had a good run on the surface with it, but I'm like, damn, I wish I had this for the final boss.
I had this insane build the other night or last night. It had Zeus, Demeter, cast, Zeus on my knives, Demeter on my cast, and backstab and Artemis crit damage, like bonus damage
Oh,
to
that's
crit,
so broken.
or armored enemies. I was shredding. Like I took down Cerberus in like 2 minutes. It was absolutely insane.
I just wish that you could like talk shit to a god. Like like you know how you can gift to gods. I wish that like if you press L2 to Hestia, you're like, hey you dumb bitch, I don't want you anymore, and then they just go away forever. Like
There
that's
is
what I
a
want.
Arcana card to reset.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I saw that, but I don't think it was. It's too much energy. But
Okay.
yeah, Hades 2 is good. That's a good game. Full release is next year. I bet. I bet it's like launch title for Switch 2 and everything. Like they could get a lot of like buzz around that. We will see. But yeah, that's everything. We talked a while. We said we wouldn't talk that much about Hades 2. Well, look what happened.
We fucking lied.
All right. Well, let's get us out of here, man.
Okay, cool. I'm doing the outro. Yay. Hope you all guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that other good stuff. We're coming up on E3 season pretty soon, and that's all very exciting. Be sure to tune into our specials, such as our Xbox Showcase wrap up. We might even be doing a Summer Game Fest wrap up show. We'll see how that comes. So be sure to tune in for all that by subscribing, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Say goodnight, everyone.
Good night.
Peace out. Remember, Celine's
College
a
football
bitch.
25.